Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. One Piece. While Nami is still young, invite her on my boat at the beginning. Chapter 61. Aokiji thought he had used Ice Age to freeze Ningchuan there for an instant. He originally thought that this would prevent Ningchuan from secretly learning his frozen fruit ability. However, what Aokiji didn't expect was Ningchuan's ability is far beyond his imagination. At this time, Ningchuan was carrying out system settlements again and again amidst layers of ice. Until I heard the words, "Your ability to master frozen fruits has been greatly improved." From the system's mouth, Ningchuan finally had a smile on his face. At this moment, Ningchuan's mood became extremely calm. He is silently feeling the power of freezing. Gradually, he seemed to be integrated with this frozen world. Elementalization. I just heard Ningchuan reciting something silently. The next moment, Ningchuan's figure instantly disappeared from the frozen position. Become one with these countless ice layers. Where is this guy? Feeling that Ningchuan suddenly disappeared from his own ability, Aokiji's eyes widened instantly as if he had seen a ghost. He could never imagine how Ningchuan could disappear from his eyes in an instant. If Ningchuan used the power of domineering to directly break the ice, then Aokiji wouldn't be so surprised. And now, in front of him, Ningchuan disappeared out of thin air due to his ability to freeze fruit. It really makes him unable to figure it out no matter what. Just when Aokiji was stunned, he suddenly felt a danger coming from the ice around him. No way, this kid, could it be? Aokiji hasn't finished speaking yet. The next moment, a very familiar voice sounded in his ears. Ice Age. When I heard these words, Aokiji suddenly felt something bad. However, he didn't have time to escape. An even more powerful freezing force struck Aokiji like a torrent. His whole body was frozen in the ice. Ningchuan, on the other hand, slowly walked out of the ice on the side and stood in front of him. General Aokiji, what do you think of my frozen fruit ability? Ningchuan's eyes were fixed on the frozen position of Aokiji, and he said with a smile on his face. Crack, there was a crisp sound. A somewhat embarrassed Aokiji broke through the ice and walked out with a shocked face. You boy, the ability to control the frozen fruit is no longer under my control. You just came here through elementalization, right? Listening to Aokiji's shocked words, Ningchuan didn't answer, just smiled and nodded. Good boy, your ability is really scary. You were able to master my frozen fruit ability in such a short period of time. This moment, Aokiji felt that his three views had been subverted. He has used his frozen fruit ability for so many years. In just a few dozen minutes, he was successfully mastered by a child and reached a level similar to his own. He just felt like his life for the past few decades had been in vain. Since this kid can master my frozen fruit ability in such a short period of time, then his control over Akainu's lava fruit ability may not be as good as his own. In this case, I'm afraid it will be difficult for me to win against him. Thinking of this, Aokiji felt that there was no need to continue this fight. This kid Ningchuan has the ability of double fruits. And he's also very Grandmaster's own frozen fruit ability. If the fight continues, I'm afraid he will be the only loser. At this moment, Aokiji seemed to understand. Why did Akainu look so strange during the day today? What kind of devil fruit did this kid eat? I can actually master two top Logia fruit abilities in one day. Looking at Ningchuan, who had been standing there with a smile on his face, a doubt once again arose in Aokiji's heart. However, I am afraid no one can answer this question for him. General Aokiji, do you still want to fight? Looking at the eager expression on Ningchuan's face, Aokiji hesitated for a moment and finally shook his head. No fight, you are so stupid, you can actually learn other people's fruit abilities secretly. Without the frozen fruit as my advantage, it will be difficult to win against you. Aokiji is much more generous than Akainu. He directly admitted that he could not defeat Ningchuan. However, it may be because there is no audience that he can do it so coolly. Hearing Aokiji's words, Ningchuan spread his hands helplessly. Okay, there's no fighting, it's so boring. Aokiji rolled his eyes and thought to himself. What do you mean no fighting? First defeated two marine generals in one day and stole their abilities. Isn't that enough? Do you still want to fight Marine Fleet Admiral? If Ningchuan knew what Aokiji was thinking at this time, he will definitely smile and nod seriously. After all, the Warring States period's everyone fruit and Big Buddha form is also an ability that Ningchuan wants very much. Ahem, you kid, you are really giving me a headache. If you really want to continue fighting, then follow our Marine fleet tomorrow. Marine is going to round up Buggy the Clown tomorrow. As far as I know, there are a lot of New World 4 Emperors, men coming this time. You should have a chance to take action then. After telling this information, Aokiji got on his bicycle without looking back. Start from where you came from and go back to where you came from. Looking at Aokiji's leaving figure, Ningchuan showed a smile. A subordinate of the New World 4 Emperors. It seems a little boring. It would be much more interesting if the 4 Emperors themselves came. Time flies. The next morning arrived in the blink of an eye. He gently pushed away the Nami sisters who were hugging him. After wiping the drool from the corners of their mouths while sleeping, Ningchuan walked out of his room. Looking at Kuina, who had already come to the deck to practice swordsmanship. A smile appeared on Ningchuan's face. He walked up to Kuina, held her sword-holding finger and pointed at a few areas where she had not practiced well. It actually made the somewhat shy Kuina's face turn rosy. Just when Ningchuan was about to do a set of Kunquan fitness exercises beside Kuina. Suddenly, Tina's patrol boat came to Ningchuan's boat. Wearing a marine uniform, Tina looks very dashing. Looking at the two people who got up early on the boat and Ningchuan, a trace of surprise could not help but appear on their faces. Then she couldn't help but smile in her heart. No wonder Ningchuan is so strong. Coming out to practice so early, your perseverance is beyond that of other people of the same age. But to be honest, this guy is pretty good looking. If he were older, with his strength and appearance, he might be able to steal the souls of many young girls. While Tina was looking at Ningchuan also noticed her. The two stared at each other for a moment. For some reason, Tina suddenly felt her face turn a little rosy. Tina, what are you thinking about? He is just a child. Don't forget your mission this time. Tina patted her face hard to help herself recover from her strange state. She looked at Ningchuan, who was doing a strange set of boxing techniques, and said loudly, Captain Ningchuan, Marine's roundup of Buggy is about to begin. Sengoku Fleet Admiral asked me to pilot the ship for you. Miss Tina, I'm sorry to bother you. If you can, could you come to our boat and help us disembark? Our driver is still dreaming. Thinking that the two Nami sisters in charge of driving the boat were still sleeping, it was not easy to disturb them. I also have some morning practice of Kunquan that I haven't finished yet. Ningchuan had no choice but to ask Tina to help him with this small favor. After all, a fragrant marine soldier came to help him sail the ship. This is really a scene that makes sailors envious. Captain Ningchuan, do you need help? Without thinking, Tina directly called her guards and gave them the task. Then she quickly arrived at the bow, and several moonwalkers landed steadily on Ningchuan's boat. Watching Tina fly directly to her ship, Ningchuan directly extended his hand to Tina to express his gratitude. Then all trouble, Miss Tina. Tina's hands are very smooth, and there is no roughness caused by Marine's powerful training content. It seems that she is still very concerned about her own care. No trouble at all. It's my honor to help Captain Ningchuan sail the ship. Ever since Tina found out yesterday that Ningchuan had a draw with General Akainu, she respected Ningchuan unconsciously. After all, that was General Akainu. As a marine in the headquarters, who doesn't know the power of General Akainu? And a child in Ningchuan could actually do this. It's so surprising. It would be even better if I could get Ningchuan's guidance. I really want to become as strong as Ningchuan. While driving the boat, Tina watched Ningchuan perform strange kun fists there. What kind of boxing is Ningchuan practicing? What a strange look. Tina stared at Ningchuan's kunquan for a long time. I really can't think of how this type of boxing is so powerful. Maybe it's because my cultivation level isn't strong enough that I can't see the advantages and disadvantages of this set of boxing techniques, right? You must ask Ningchuan for advice when you have time. Let's see if he can teach me this set of boxing techniques and let me practice them too. The ship sailed on the sea for a long time. The phone bug hanging on Tina's waist suddenly rang. Grr, hello, this is Tina. After a while of communication, Tina shouted excitedly to Ning Chuan, who was lying on the deck and enjoying the massage from the Nami sisters. Captain Ning Chuan, Marine has successfully defeated many pirates and surrounded Buggy the Clown's ship. Not long ago, Marine main fleet based on intelligence. They quickly gathered and surrounded Buggy and his pirate group. During this period, Buggy relied on his huge reputation for killing the celestial dragons and recruited a large number of pirate men. Even formed a huge fleet. Half of the marine warships did not dare to attack alone. The clown Buggy relied on the advantages of numbers and ships to repel several marine sieges. Only this time, Marine united several kingdoms and dispatched a large number of ships. Successfully surrounded Buggy's fleet on the sea. As a fierce naval battle broke out, the large number of men Buggy recruited were almost wiped out by the overwhelming marine offensive. Marine's elite fleet, relying on its powerful firepower, quickly destroyed the Buggy pirates' defense lines one after another. In the end, only one of Buggy's main ships was left in the fleet. The rest were either captured or sunk into the sea by artillery fire. However, when Marine's ship was less than a few kilometers away from Buggy's main ship. But no ship dared to come forward easily. After all, according to intelligence from Marine's internal professionals, within 1 kilometer of the Buggy fleet, you will be attacked by a terrifying and fragmented force. Therefore, all Marines are wary of Buggy's power of split fruit. As a result, a deadlock is now forming on the sea. Marine wants to capture Buggy alive, but he doesn't dare to step forward. After listening to what Tina reported to herself, Ning Chuan couldn't help but rolled his eyes, feeling happy in his heart. Buggy, he's so torn apart. It seems that the last time I used my fragmentation ability to deal with the Draco frigates, I scared these guys quite a bit. Just when Ning Chuan was about to laugh out loud, Tina's voice suddenly rang in Ning Chuan's ears. Ning Chuan, do you want to go to the front and have a look? Hear Tina's words. Ning Chuan looked at Nami and the three of them. After discovering that all their faces were full of expectation, Ning Chuan smiled and nodded. Let's go and see what's going on. Tina's application has just been reported. A voice came from the Marine command room agreeing to let go. That's all. Under the gaze of Marine warships, Ning Chuan's small boat passed through a group of giant ships in a swaggering manner. Some Marine officers whose ranks are too low and are not qualified to join the frontline battlefield are envious. And Tina, the colonel, was able to come to the frontline battlefield because of Ning Chuan. This made her very excited. You know, the people on the front line right now. Except for the elite soldiers who participated in the battle. The lowest ranking officers are all lieutenant generals. As a colonel, she could enter such a battlefield. How could she not be excited? In this way, Tina accompanied Ning Chuan and the four of them into Marine's highest command room. Along the way, Tina was naturally quite excited. Looking at the extremely excited Tina, Ning Chuan reached out and patted her little hand to express comfort. Kuina was also a little excited. After all, it was her first time on such a big ship. But she was more curious. As for Nami and Nokigao, their eyes were full of curiosity. The two of them had followed Ning Chuan on board the Tianlong people's giant ship, and had seen the most luxurious ship in the world. Therefore, when first look at Marine, the largest warship, I no longer have the initial shock. Report Fleet Admiral. I have brought Captain Ning Chuan. When she saw Warring States, Tina was obviously a little excited. Sengoku nodded at her. However, when he saw Ning Chuan holding Tina's little hand, there was a look of surprise on his face. Could this kid have his sights set on our marine beauty? Naturally, Warring States had some understanding of Tina. After all, this is the most beautiful thorn flower in the army as rated by marine soldiers. But look at Tina's appearance now. Where are the thorns? However, Warring States didn't pay too much attention to these trivial matters. He looked at Ning Chuan and Nami beside him. Warring States nodded silently in his heart. Then he looked at Ning Chuan and said seriously, Ning Chuan, I have a mission now. I wonder if you can help. We have annihilated Buggy's fleet, but now there is still a tyrannical Buggy. His ability is very terrifying, and it seems that he can tear everything apart. Having said this, Warring States' face was more serious than ever before. In addition, there seemed to be some tough guys from the New World hiding on his ship. I hope you can cooperate with the two generals to capture this dangerous guy alive. The only requirement of the mission is to keep Buggy alive, and everyone else can be killed. Hearing what Warring States said, Ning Chuan showed a look of surprise on his face. But at this time, his heart was already filled with joy. To catch Buggy, two generals are not enough. Ha ha ha, if they knew Buggy's true strength, wouldn't they be mad to death? Forehead. Warring States Fleet Admiral, I think it's enough to catch Buggy by myself. There is no need to trouble the two generals to take action. As soon as Ning Chuan's words left his mouth, everyone in the Marine senior management had shocked expressions on their faces. The faces of Akainu and Aokiji were also much gloomier at this time. Especially Akainu, when he looked at Ning Chuan, there was a bit of anger in his eyes. What does this kid mean? Does he think he can rival our two generals? Just when Akainu was about to say that he could take down Buggy alone. At this moment, Warring States stretched out his hand to stop him, turned to look at Ning Chuan and said seriously. Ning Chuan, are you sure you want to capture Buggy yourself? This is an extremely dangerous person. The ability he has to split the fruit into pieces is extremely terrifying. It seems to be able to split everything close to him. Listen to what Warring States said. Ning Chuan almost laughed out loud. No one else knew how much Buggy weighed, but Ning Chuan knew it very well. Plus Buggy's courage, not to mention the two generals went up together. Just Akainu or Aokiji just go there. He might be scared out of his wits. Sengoku Fleet Admiral, it's okay. I'll go test it out first. If it doesn't work, you can send two generals to help me. Looking at Ning Chuan, he looked confident. It's hard to say much in the Warring States period. After all, in his opinion, young people still need to experience more scenes and get some exercise. Give you an hour. If you really can't get Buggy, stop now and don't take risks. Warring States acted like a loving father and gave Ning Chuan serious instructions. All Marine executives can see that he really values this young man Ning Chuan. Thunder Fire Sword. Following Ning Chuan's soft call, a long sword with a strange style flew from Ning Chuan's boat to him in an instant. Everyone looked at the long sword that suddenly appeared. Everyone was shocked. They thought there was an enemy attack, and some people even took a defensive stance. But when everyone saw the sword stopping next to Ning Chuan, only then did they realize that this seemed to be Ning Chuan's weapon. Looking at everyone's surprised eyes, Ning Chuan smiled slightly, put his hands behind his back, stretched out his feet and stepped on the blade of the Thunder Fire Sword. Walk. As soon as the word, walk, is exported, the next moment, the Thunder Fire Sword turned out to be carrying Ning Chuan. It flew directly towards Buggy's boat in the distance. Everyone was shocked once again when they saw this scene. This sword can still be used like this. On the side are Akainu and Aokiji. He was slightly stunned when he looked at the Thunder Fire Sword under Ning Chuan's feet. Good boy, when you fought with us yesterday, you didn't even try your best. Not even your weapons are useful. Ning Chuan Yujian flies extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, he has arrived at the danger zone according to Marine intelligence. At this time, all the Marine executives on the ship looked at Ning Chuan extremely nervously. They knew that Ning Chuan had now entered the danger zone. There is always a risk of being torn apart by Buggy. However, just when everyone was extremely worried, Ning Chuan didn't slow down at all and rushed to the side of the Buggy pirate ship. He stepped on the Thunder Fire Sword and stood in the air. Looking down at Buggy's pirate ship, Ning Chuan actually passed directly through the danger zone. Didn't the terrible Buggy attack him? No, I don't think so. Ning Chuan's domineering must be too powerful. Buggy's fruit ability cannot break through his domineering defense for a while. But there should be a time limit for this. Even Ning Chuan probably won't be able to resist it for long. I hope he can take down Buggy quickly before his domineering energy is exhausted. Concerns among Marine executives. If Ning Chuan heard this, he would probably laugh out loud. He stared at Buggy's pirate ship for a while. He shouted directly down below. Red-nosed Buggy, come out. We have made an agreement before, now I'm going to use you to pay someone else's debt. Buggy hiding in the captain's cabin. Hearing Ning Chuan's familiar voice, he was stunned for a moment. Then I saw his face full of anger. He ignored the warnings of his men and rushed out of the cabin. Ning Chuan pointed at the sky and cursed. Ning Chuan, you little fool. Since you forced me to kill the celestial dragon last time, do you know how I have survived these days? Ah, I'm going to kill you. Buggy took out the flying knives from his waist and threw them towards Ning Chuan. Ning Chuan smiled at him. He casually swatted away the flying knives aimed at him. Don't frame me, you guy. You obviously killed the person, why do you mean I forced you to do it? The photo of you killing the celestial dragon has spread all over the world. It's a good thing Ning Chuan didn't mention this matter. When this matter was mentioned, Buggy became even more angry than before. He was so angry that his body fell apart. The marine executives in the distance were holding binoculars and watching Ning Chuan versus Buggy. When I saw Buggy's body suddenly falling apart, they all thought that Buggy had used his abilities and was ready to fight Ning Chuan. Warring States and others were all sweating for Ning Chuan at this moment. Hopefully his domineering power can block Buggy's terrifying fruit power. However, what all of them don't know is that Buggy's current body suddenly split apart, but it was actually just because of Ning Chuan's anger. Buggy, did you raise your hands to surrender yourself, or did I make you raise your hands to surrender? You choose one of these two options. Ning Chuan's face was now filled with a bad smile. Seeing the smile on Ning Chuan's face, Buggy took several steps back unconsciously. I'm not afraid of you. No matter how powerful you are, I'm not afraid of you now. Buggy roared at Ning Chuan. Then, as if he had made some kind of decision in his heart, he shouted to the cabin behind him. Lord Cracker, I agree to your terms and marry Big Mom. Anyway, help me quickly. I don't want to get caught by this brat and give it to Marine. As Buggy roared out, immediately afterwards, a tall pirate with purple hair and a huge blade slung around his waist suddenly walked out of the cabin of the pirate ship. Behind him, a group of guys who looked very unpleasant came out one after another. See these people. Ning Chuan couldn't help but reveal a smile. New World 4 Emperor's Big Mom pirates, one of their 3 generals, Cracker. Interesting. But what's even more interesting is that what Buggy said just now seems to be that he wants to be your father. Buggy hasn't married Big Mom yet, are you ready to fulfill your filial piety to him? I heard Ning Chuan's words. Cracker was so angry that he was shaking all over. He directly pulled out the big knife hanging from his waist, pointed it at Ning Chuan and roared. How dare you make a joke on your mother? I'm going to kill you. Ning Chuan simply ignored Cracker's threat. Instead, he looked at Buggy and smiled in his heart. Buggy is indeed a man of great luck. He really found a different way out of a desperate situation. It's just that the person you met is me. Cracker on the side looked at Ning Chuan, who seemed not to take him seriously. The anger in my heart was a little stronger than before. You're looking for death. Biscuit Soldier, take him down for me. Cracker no longer hesitated at this moment. He directly used his biscuit fruit ability to create a large number of biscuit soldiers. They launched an attack on Ning Chuan. For Cracker's cookie fruit ability. Ning Chuan, who is familiar with the plot, naturally knows everything about it. Biscuits made from biscuit fruits can not only be used as food, can also be used as a stand-in for armor and Cracker. After making the armor, the hardness of the biscuits will be greatly improved. Even comparable to the hardness of ordinary armed color domineering. Even if it is made into a substitute, it still has a certain combat effectiveness. However, no matter how powerful Cracker's cookie fruit is. But here in Ning Chuan, there is not enough to see. Look at the large number of cookie soldiers coming. Ning Chuan stood in the air without even moving. The thunder fire sword under his feet directly launched an attack on these biscuit soldiers for him. A sword. Looking at the incoming thunder fire sword, Cracker was stunned for a moment. He has never seen such a magical sword that can fly in the sky without anyone's control. Could it be a sword that ate a devil fruit? Cracker heard a rumor. Weapons such as swords can actually eat devil fruits. Therefore, he treated Ning Chuan's thunder fire sword as a sword that had eaten a devil fruit. It's just a weapon that ate a devil fruit. It's not a rare item. If you can deal with me with just one sword, you really underestimate me. Cracker looked at the thunder fire sword flying opposite him. First, he snorted coldly, then casually drew out the giant sword from his waist and stabbed it at the thunder fire sword. Thunder Fire Sword is naturally not a good-tempered master. For Cracker's contempt for himself. Without any hesitation, the whole sword flew high into the sky and cut towards Cracker. The Thunder Fire Sword struck with all its strength. The power of thunder and lava burst out from the sword in an instant. Feel the pressure of this force. Cracker immediately felt that there was a huge danger approaching him. He did not dare to be careless and directly used his strongest armed color domineering force to resist. However, he felt that these were not enough. Almost an instant. There were hundreds of pieces of biscuit armor compressed together in front of him. The defense against the slashing attack of the Thunder Fire Sword. He has almost reached his limit. However, what he did was of no use. If only it could be so easy to withstand the full blow of the enraged Thunder Fire Sword. Then it won't be called a weapon that surpasses the Supreme Sword. With the Thunder Fire Sword, he slashed down hard. The dual power of thunder and lava struck directly through the layers of defense in front of Cracker. Waves of terrifying sword intent spread out from the long sword. A ray of sword light directly cut open Cracker's armed domineering force for defense. Cracker felt a sudden light on his arm. When he reacts, he had already discovered his two arms and the giant sword he was carrying. Just cut off instantly by a sword. A large amount of blood instantly spurted out from Cracker's broken arm. It splashed in the face of Buggy, who was standing nearby. Cracker, one of the 3 generals under the 4 emperors, was defeated. Also, was he defeated by a sword? This guy Ning Chuan didn't even raise his hand. Has his strength become stronger again? Buggy was sprayed with Cracker's blood. His face was filled with incredible expression. In his opinion, winning a small Ning Chuan. 1 Cracker is enough to take him down. However, now it seems that the one who was taken down seems to be Cracker. At the same time, Marines watching the battle with binoculars in the distance. When he saw Cracker's arm being easily cut off by Ning Chuan's Thunder Fire Sword, there was a look of excitement on their faces. The men Buggy borrowed from Big Mom have had their arms chopped off by Ning Chuan. Next, is it Buggy's turn? That's awesome, Ning Chuan. I'm afraid Ning Chuan will be able to win the next battle reliably. Ning Chuan, listen to the cheers of the sailors around you. The Marine executives all had strange looks on their faces at this time. Isn't Buggy very strong? But why did he look timid when facing Ning Chuan just now? Also, after Cracker came out, Buggy suddenly became excited and arrogant. As soon as Cracker had his arms chopped off, Buggy seemed to be wilting again. This doesn't look like the behavior a strong man should have. And what about the fruit power that can split everything? Why hasn't Buggy used it yet? So many doubts. The 2 generals Sengoku, Garp and Aokiji Akainu, as well as the numerous lieutenant generals, are a bit difficult to figure out. So they had no choice but to pick up the telescope again and continued to pay attention to the battle situation. Ning Chuan looked at Cracker, who had his arms cut off. After sneering, he fell straight onto the deck. At this time, Cracker endured the severe pain of losing his arms. Using his cookie fruit ability, he turned the wound into a cookie and forcibly stopped the bleeding. Looking at this scene, Ning Chuan smiled slightly. What's the point of relying on a sword? If you can, come with me. Cracker is not done with his cruel words yet. Ning Chuan's armed punch hit his front teeth hard. All the teeth in his mouth were broken into pieces. There wasn't even a chance for him to mount an armed defense. Stop competing here, I'm going to the great prison under the sea to play with Jack soon. Enjoy your free time outside. However, your ability to fill your stomach should not be wasted. Just finished speaking, Ning Chuan stepped forward and broke Cracker's legs to prevent him from escaping. Then, he looked at Buggy, who was almost stunned. Ning Chuan smiled slightly and said in his mind, "System, start calculating the cookie fruit ability I just watched. Congratulations to the host for successfully observing the biscuit fruit ability for 30 seconds and activating the 10,000-fold return system. Start practice settlement now. Settlement is successful. Congratulations to the host for successfully obtaining the observation cookie fruit ability and returning the 300,000 seconds of cultivation. Host's understanding of biscuit fruit's abilities has improved. System, continue settlement. Congratulations to the host for successfully using the cookie fruit ability within 10 seconds and activating the 10,000-fold return system. Start practice settlement now. Settlement is successful. Congratulations to the host for successfully obtaining the ability to use the cookie fruit and returning the 100,000 seconds of cultivation. Host can also skillfully use the cookie fruit ability. When I heard the system say that my biscuit fruit ability was already used proficiently, Ning Chuan stopped continuing the settlement. For Ning Chuan, biscuit fruit is not a very strong ability, as long as he has it. Just be able to generate cookies at critical times. As for combat power, the abilities of the biscuit fruit are in no way comparable to other main combat fruit abilities. After Ning Chuan put away the cookies he generated, Cracker on the side was already dumbfounded. He felt a little dazzled. He actually saw Ning Chuan using his devil fruit ability to generate a lot of cookies. And Buggy has already seen Ning Chuan's ability. Although I was still very shocked at this time. But after all, he has experienced this scene, and his situation is much better than Cracker's. Why can you use my devil fruit ability? Cracker, who fell motionless on the ground with serious injuries, stared at Ning Chuan. It seems that he wants to find out the secret about him. However, Ning Chuan didn't want to talk nonsense with him and directly ordered to the Thunder Fire Sword. Thunder Fire Sword, send this thing to Garp. Ning Chuan finished speaking. Before Cracker could react, he kicked him from the boat into the sea. As soon as he took a dip in the Shanghai water, Cracker shrank instantly. Just when he thought he was about to sink to the bottom of the ocean and drown, the Thunder Fire Sword that had cut off his hands just now flew to his side with a whoosh. The puncture penetrated his shoulder blade and took him flying out of the sea and headed straight for the warship where Garp and the others were. Bang! After a loud noise, the Thunder Fire Sword threw Cracker out of the air like trash, hitting a group of marine executives gathered on the deck. Landed in front of Garp. Does this count as paying off my debt? This kid. He looked at the Cracker that landed in front of him, and then at the Thunder Fire Sword that flew back to Ning Chuan. There was a hint of helplessness on Garp's face. A Jack of 3 woes, a Cracker of 3 generals. The combined bounty of the two of them is nearly 1.9 billion belly. Ning Chuan's previous agreement with himself was to put a reward of 3 billion belly on the head of the criminal. It's only been a while, but already more than half of it has been repaid. It seems that the 3 billion at that time was still too low. Garp sighed helplessly. If he were allowed to go back to the time when he made the bet with Ning Chuan, the least he could do was ask the lion to open his mouth and shout out that there was a bounty worth a total of 5 billion. Unfortunately, there is no regret medicine in the world. After sending Cracker away, Ning Chuan looked at Buggy who was standing there shaking and smiled. I said, Buggy, no one can save you now, right? I think you should stop resisting, because now my strength is many times stronger than before. Ning Chuan smiled and stretched out his hands. One hand was boiling with hot lava, while the other hand was exuding a piercing coldness. Watching Ning Chuan actually use 2 powerful devil fruit abilities at the same time, Buggy was immediately heartbroken. I surrender. Buggy knows, if I continue to resist so stubbornly, I will only be asking for trouble. Ning Chuan is not something he can handle. Here Buggy surrender. A satisfied smile appeared on Ning Chuan's face. It seems that your good luck is about to end here. Just when Ning Chuan was about to capture Buggy and throw it to Marine, suddenly, there was a violent commotion from the Marine fleet in the distance. I saw a giant pirate ship flying a pirate flag with 3 scars. He actually broke through the blockades of many Marines along the way and rushed towards the center of the battlefield. Ning Chuan looked back when he heard the noise. When he saw the pirate flag hanging on the huge ship, Ning Chuan was suddenly stunned. He looked at Buggy behind him in disbelief, and said in disbelief, I'm going. Red Nose, your luck seems a bit scary. This guy Shanks actually came to save you. Hearing Ning Chuan's words, Buggy was stunned for a moment. What? Who will save me? You mean, Shanks? Buggy looked in the direction Ning Chuan was pointing in disbelief. It doesn't matter if you look at it. I saw a very familiar figure standing on the bow of a giant ship. It was driving towards his direction. Behind this giant pirate ship, it is a sea that is constantly frozen. In the sky, there are countless lava falling from the sky. The red-haired man standing at the bow of the boat. He seemed to turn a blind eye to the attacks from the 2 Marine generals behind him. Leave your entire back to a trusted companion. He kept his eyes fixed on Buggy, who was in the center of the battlefield, with a smile on his face and his red hair flying freely in the sea breeze. Shanks. Buggy stared at the man standing at the bow of the boat for a long time. Finally called out the name he had hated for many years. Ha ha ha. Buggy, it seems that your situation is very bad. As Shanks and his ship continued to accelerate, they rushed over. Shanks' voice also reached the ears of Ning Chuan and Buggy at this time. Watching the incoming Shanks, the thunder fire sword floating in the air seemed to have sensed a powerful enemy, and it kept trembling in the air. Ning Chuan could feel it. This is the excitement of thunder fire sword. Want to have a fight? Ning Chuan smiled and looked at the thunder fire sword. Thunder fire sword didn't hesitate at all. It flew directly into Ning Chuan's hands with great cooperation. Then let's try the strength of those with the face fruit ability. Ning Chuan held the thunder fire sword and smiled slightly. He then ignored the stunned Buggy, jumped directly from the boat and killed Shanks. Shanks, who was standing on the bow of the ship, naturally felt the danger approaching for the first time. He looked at the child flying towards him with shock on his face. I couldn't believe that the danger I sensed came from this child. Almost instantly, Shanks directly pulled out his beloved knife, Griffin, hanging from his waist. He also jumped up from the bow and flew towards Ning Chuan. Two terrifying sword intents met and collided in the air. The first time the two collided, neither of them used their domineering force. It's just a duel of swordsmanship, as an extremely powerful sword intent emitted from the swords of the two men. Everyone nearby felt a terrifying chill radiating from the bottom of their hearts. This feeling is like someone holding a sword to their neck. After a duel, Shanks fell back to the bow of his boat with a face full of shock. He stared at Ning Chuan, who was still standing in the air, and said with disbelief on his face, "How can this kid's sword intent be so strong? And what's going on with the sword in his hand?" With doubts, Shanks and his ship finally stopped near the Buggy pirate ship. The two marine generals Akainu and Aokiji have been trying to stop Shanks from intruding. He also stopped when he came to the dangerous area in the marine information. Akainu and Aokiji looked at each other. One after another, they bypassed this dangerous area and surrounded the red-haired pirates inside. Next, no matter where the red-haired pirates break out, they will all face the interception of a general. However, what surprised them both? They found Shanks walking through a dangerous area. It seems that he has not been attacked by any terrible ability to split the fruit. At this time, both Aokiji and Akainu had a strange look on their faces. They almost looked at Buggy standing on the pirate ship at the same time. Why isn't there an attack with the ability to split the fruit apart? Do Buggy and Shanks know each other? It was Buggy who called Shanks to help. Buggy's popularity is a bit ridiculous. Kaido's men, Big Mom's men, and even Shanks himself have appeared in this sea area now. For a while, Akainu and Aokiji, as well as Sengoku and others in the temporary command post. Everyone looked at Buggy with solemn expressions. They never expected that Buggy's appeal would be so strong. Except for the Whitebeard pirates who didn't come, the other three guys all sent people to help him. A series of questions appeared in the minds of marine executives at this moment. However, now seems not to be the time to think about these issues. After all, there are many more targets that give them headaches now. The red-haired Shanks pirates. Marine executives are well aware of the terrifying power of the Shanks pirates. Especially Shanks, the captain of the pirate group. Not only did he conquer the stronghold of the New World, he became famous. He is also a super strong man who almost became the New World 4 emperors. Although the number of Shanks pirates is not large, but he took the route of elite soldiers. The combat capabilities of the members on board cannot be underestimated. Especially when there is a guy with similar strength to Shanks, Ben Beckman. If you want to capture them, you will probably have to pay a high price. The sudden intrusion of the red-haired pirates. It really disrupted Marine's long-awaited capture plan. However, no matter how powerful Shanks is, Marine senior executives will also set an appropriate example at this time. Inside the temporary command post, Sengoku and Garp looked at each other. They all saw a hint of caution in each other's eyes. They no longer hesitated. They stood up and moved towards the other two directions to outflank them. 4 general-level warriors completely surrounded the Shanks pirates and Buggy pirates at this moment. Especially Garp. The moment he saw Shanks, his old fist started to itch. The guy who led his grandson Luffy into mischief. He insisted on letting Shanks feel it again. The feeling of being chased and escaped by my own men on Roger's boat. With all of Marine's top combat power deployed, surrounding them in the middle, they may launch an attack at any time. However, Sengoku and the others did not directly break into the designated dangerous area. They just watched the situation inside coldly from the outside. As long as Ningchuan is in slight danger, they will rush in as soon as possible. The battle this time is really big. Shanks, we might get caught if we don't do it right. Beckman wiped the musket in his hand and looked at Shanks with a smile. Shanks also recovered from his shocked state at this moment, seeing that Ning Chuan had no intention of using his sword for the time being. He inserted the sword back into his waist again and responded. If it doesn't work, then let's make a big fuss. If we can rush out, we must have a big banquet. Beckman listened to Shanks. There was a rare hint of seriousness in his words. It seems that Shanks is very aware of their current situation. However, there was no nervousness on the faces of the crew members on his ship at this time. Instead, they are all ready to fight. Always be ready to cause a scene. Shanks took back his beloved knife griffin. His eyes stayed on Ning Chuan for a long time. His eyes were full of curiosity. Boy, what's your name? You are very strong. Are you willing to come to my ship? Let's go find Captain Roger's secret treasure together. Shanks looked at the young but extraordinary swordsman in front of him. There was great interest in his eyes. Ning Chuan, if you want to make friends, you can, but I'm not interested in being a pirate. For Shanks' invitation, Ning Chuan refused without thinking. Yes, heroes come from young boys. I remember the name Ning Chuan. Shanks didn't feel angry at Ning Chuan's answer. After all, it seemed good to him that he could become a friend rather than an enemy with the brat Ning Chuan. Your talent in swordsmanship is truly terrifying. I'm afraid that within 10 or 20 years, neither Hawkeye nor I will be your opponent. After sighing, Shanks stared directly behind Ning Chuan. He stared at his thunder fire sword floating in the sky for a long time, and still couldn't help but speak. What's the name of your sword? I can feel that your sword is very extraordinary, even more sinister than that guy's black sword knight from Hawkeye. I heard Shanks ask about the thunder fire sword. Ning Chuan smiled slightly and responded in an extremely strange tone. It's called Thunder Fire Sword. It is a collection of extremely excellent works. Thunder Fire Sword. Hear the name. Shanks unconsciously recalled the two special powers he felt when he fought Ning Chuan just now. One is the overbearing thunder, the other is the terrifying high temperature. It is indeed a collection of excellent works. This sword is at least a sword of the supreme sword level. Shanks couldn't help but sigh in his heart. However, if he was told that there was a huge difference between the excellent works that Ning Chuan said and the excellent works that he thought, I don't know what kind of critical impact this guy Shanks's outlook on life will receive. During the conversation between the two, Ning Chuan's eyes inadvertently glanced at Shanks' ship. In addition to seeing a group of familiar Shanks friends, he also saw a little girl who was a few years younger than him. The little girl has red and white hair. That unique hair color made Ning Chuan recognize her identity at a glance, the singer Yuta. Why is Yuta on Shanks' ship now? Wait, I get it. Shanks should be sending Yuta off to the land of music now. If Red Hair and the others really want to send Yuta to the country of music, Elegia, I'm afraid this little guy Yuta is going to bring another devastating disaster to the country of music. Ning Chuan, who was familiar with the plot, naturally knew what was going to happen next. He already had a plan in mind to prevent this disaster. After all, he didn't want to see Yuta's fate be the same as in the movie version, and he would end up dead. However, now is not the time to think about this matter. Ning Chuan looked at Shanks and felt the intention to have a good fight with him. Shanks seemed to understand Ning Chuan's thoughts. He smiled slightly and said to Ning Chuan, "Can you wait a moment? I want to catch up with old friends." Look at the sincere expression on Shanks' face. Ning Chuan turned sideways slightly, indicating to give him this opportunity. Seeing this, Shanks nodded towards Ning Chuan to express his gratitude. Then he looked at Buggy beside him with a smile. "Buggy, long time no see. I didn't expect you to be so courageous now, you would even dare to kill a celestial dragon. It seems that you have grown a lot over the years. The moment Buggy saw Shanks walking towards him, he thought that his most annoying friend in the past had come to rescue him specially. He was suddenly so excited that he burst into tears and choked with sobs. Shanks, I really didn't expect you to go out of your way to save me. You can take such a big risk to save me, and I forgive you for making me eat that fruit. Upon hearing this, Shanks was stunned for a moment. Then he patted Buggy on the shoulder and joked. Buggy, you misunderstood. I just happened to pass by here and stopped by to see you. It seems like you're fine now. We'll leave later. When Buggy heard this, he was stunned and immediately cursed in anger. It's all your fault for making me eat that fruit, and that's why I became so weak. Now that I'm about to die, you actually want to leave me alone, you fool. Look at Buggy's excitement. Shanks smiled and patted Buggy on the shoulder. You guys are really the same as before, you haven't changed at all. You are such an old man, but you still take jokes seriously. Listening to Shanks' words, the desperate expression on Buggy's face immediately dissipated a lot. Don't worry, Buggy. As a former friend, I will definitely take you out. Shanks patted Buggy on the shoulder in reassurance. Then his eyes glanced around. As a result, he found that he had been surrounded by the 4 top combat forces of Marine, this time in the middle of the battlefield. Besides, there is also Ning Chuan, who has great fighting ability, and is also staring at him eagerly. Seeing this scene, even Shanks shook his head helplessly and thought to himself. It seems that it may be really difficult to leave this time. Right now, Ning Chuan saw that the time was almost up. He suddenly raised the Thunderfire sword in his hand and pointed it at Shanks. Now that the pleasantries are over, let's start. Okay, let's get started. The moment the sound fell, the two of them covered their swords with their strongest armament hockey at almost the same time. The long swords in the hands of the two men were instantly wrapped in rich domineering energy, exuding bursts of terrifying pressure. The next moment, like 2 bolts of lightning that broke through the sky, they soared directly into the sky and rushed into the sky. As Ning Chuan and Shanks began to fight, the sound of swords colliding with each other resounded throughout the entire sea. For a while, the sword energy filled the air, even cutting the clouds and the sky into countless pieces. The sea below also became rough at this time due to the fight between the two. At this moment, all the people watching the battle, whether they could see the battle between the two clearly or not, they all felt waves of terrifying pressure coming from the sky. Ning Chuan is actually so strong. As good as Shanks in swordsmanship. There seems to be something wrong with this situation. If Ning Chuan is best at swordsmanship, then why didn't Ning Chuan use a sword when he and General Akainu fought yesterday? Is it because he feels that General Akainu is not worthy of letting him use the sword? Hush, don't dare say this nonsense, be careful that General Akainu hears it. At this time, the two people were watching the fierce battle in the air. Akainu's face had already turned as black as charcoal gray. This fool boy, does he really look down on me? No, I have to find an opportunity in the future to teach Ning Chuan a lesson. Akainu clenched his fists in anger, wishing he could replace Shanks and fight Ning Chuan now. Aokiji on the other side was almost in the same mood at this time. After all, Ning Chuan didn't draw his sword against him last night. At the same time, during Shanks' fight with Ning Chuan, he couldn't help but feel extremely shocked. He discovered that Ning Chuan was not only extremely powerful with his sword. His armed and domineering cultivation has actually reached the point where he is almost the same as his own. How is this possible? Even if he started training in his mother's womb, his armament and domineering spirit shouldn't be so strong. Not only that, Shanks became more and more frightened as he fought. The longer the battle with Ning Chuan lasts, the more he can feel that Ning Chuan's strength can continue to grow stronger during the battle. From just now to now, it has only been less than a few minutes. Shanks can clearly feel that Ning Chuan's armed domination has made substantial progress. You must know that it is already difficult to go further if you have cultivated armed domineering to their level. But Ning Chuan can keep moving forward, which makes Shanks feel incredible. As time goes on, Shanks found that he might not be able to defeat Ning Chuan in a short time just relying on his armed domineering energy. Not only is it difficult to defeat him, but if I wait a little longer, I may gradually be unable to stop Ning Chuan's armed domineering force. This little pervert. Why does his domineering force keep getting stronger? Shanks thought about it for a long time, but couldn't figure it out anyway. Therefore, he decided not to fight with Ning Chuan over the armed color and domineering spirit. He directly used the high-level Haki of seeing and hearing, trying to predict Ning Chuan's actions through the ability to predict the future, so as to find an opportunity to win. However, when Shanks' high-level domineering power unfolded, once again he was shocked. Ning Chuan's actions that he predicted could be judged by him in advance. This shows that Ning Chuan's domineering cultivation level is not inferior to Shanks. Where on earth did this guy come from as a little pervert? How can he cultivate the Haki of seeing and hearing to this extent? Is this TND still a human being? Shanks and Ning Chuan fought in the sky for a long time. During the battle between the two, the smile on Ning Chuan's face grew stronger and stronger. Shanks's face became more and more serious. As the battle continues to deepen, Shanks was surprised to find that Ning Chuan's strength could continuously improve during the battle. Whether it is the intensity of the armed domineering force or the sensitivity of the witnessing domineering spirit, these two kinds of domineering energy are in Ning Chuan, increasing at an incredible speed. Even Shanks, who is well informed, has never encountered this phenomenon before. In the battle with Shanks, Ning Chuan became more and more relaxed as he fought. Looking at Shanks, who looked increasingly serious, he couldn't help but smile in his heart. It's really not easy to find a guy who can practice armed color and knowledge color Haki with me. System, continue with settlement. Congratulations to the host for successfully practicing armed color Haki for 1 minute and activating the 10,000-fold return system. Congratulations to the host for successfully cultivating the power of knowledge and color for 1 minute and activating the 10,000 times return system. At this time, facing Ning Chuan's astonishing growth rate, Shanks began to make calculations in his mind. He was wondering whether he should use his latest skill, Killing with Witness, to directly end this battle. After all, if Ning Chuan is allowed to continue to grow at this speed, I'm afraid it won't be long before he can no longer capture Ning Chuan. By then, if Ning Chuan will raise his armed domineering spirit to a few more levels, I'm afraid that even if Shanks holds his sword, he won't be able to break through Ning Chuan's defense. However, when Shanks glanced around, he noticed the presence of 4 Marine senior executives. My heart sank. He knows very well that these 4 Marine senior executives are all powerful masters. Especially those 2 veterans, Garp and Sengoku. Their combat experience is incredible. If you show your unique skills of seeing, hearing and killing in front of them in advance, it is very likely that when they break through their defense later, they will be prevented in advance. This leads to the eventual failure of the breakthrough. This is the last thing Shanks wants to see. After all, this time he broke through Marine's defense and broke into the most dangerous place. Just to take Buggy away, instead of just killing Ning Chuan with knowledge and knowledge. Thinking of this, Shanks decisively gave up the idea of using knowledge to kill. He looked at Ning Chuan and sighed helplessly. Ning Chuan, don't blame me for bullying you because of your age. Shanks is no longer prepared to retain his strength. He must capture Ning Chuan as soon as possible. He has been delayed by Ning Chuan for a long time now. Shanks moved his mind and no longer had any reservations. The next moment, a terrifying coercion began to radiate from Shanks' body. The invisible energy instantly covered the entire sea area. It knocked out many unsuspecting Marine soldiers. This is Conqueror's Haki. Give me the strength to strengthen my will. Once I get scared, I will faint. Those lieutenant generals who remained on the Marine warship. At this moment, he shouted loudly to his soldiers. Under their reminder, some soldiers persisted, but more soldiers didn't even react and fainted instantly. Shanks ignored the ordinary Marines. Instead, he kept turning his head and staring at Ning Chuan, watching his performance at this time. He knew that Ning Chuan had shown extraordinary talent in swordsmanship and dual-color domineering cultivation. But in terms of understanding Conqueror's domineering power, he is obviously still in a blank state. Firstly, it was because Ning Chuan was too young, and secondly, Shanks did not see any desire to dominate from Ning Chuan. After all, if you want to inspire your own conqueror's domineering power, you must have enough emotional stimulation. What's more, the owner of Conqueror's domineering spirit is unique. Ning Chuan is not necessarily the owner of Conquerors. Shanks believes this is the only advantage he can take advantage of. Although this approach seems somewhat unfair and bullying. But now he is facing a critical moment of life and death. No need to consider fairness issues. As Shanks, Conqueror's dominance began to burst out. The invisible pressure in the air is getting stronger and stronger. It was as if the surrounding space was trembling. The wooden planks on some marine warships are cracked due to Shanks' armed and domineering terrifying wires. Conquerors, entangled. Shanks didn't hesitate and wrapped Conqueror's haki around his sword. At this moment, Ning Chuan also felt an unprecedented sense of crisis. The moment when Shanks' aura suddenly changed. Ning Chuan had already guessed that Shanks was using Conqueror's domineering force. However, he did not avoid Shanks' attack just because he used Conqueror's. The dog eats the red lotus. Extremely cold ice blade. Split into pieces. The moment Shanks was about to swing out the sword, Ning Chuan used all the fruit abilities he had without reservation. Also used these abilities to slightly block Shanks' attack, so that he could take some time at this moment to observe and analyze the power of Conqueror's haki, thereby completely awakening the Conqueror's domineering energy in your body. Cut. As Shanks roared, the griffin in his hand was entangled with a terrifying Conqueror's domineering energy and attacked Ning Chuan. However, what Shanks didn't expect was, at this moment, the terrifying high-temperature lava and extremely low-temperature ice blades attacked Shanks at the same time. He didn't expect that. In an instant, Ning Chuan was able to use two terrifying fruit abilities at the same time to resist his own attack. Although these two abilities are strong, they can only weaken some of my attacks at most. If you want to completely block it, no, it's impossible. The third fruit ability, split ability. Before Shanks could finish speaking, he was immediately interrupted by himself. Because behind the lava and frozen fruit abilities, he once again felt an ability that seemed to be able to split all the forces in the world. Even the sword he struck with Conqueror's haki was wrapped around him. At this moment, Ning Chuan's ability disintegrated him a lot. Watch the rich expression changes on Shanks' face. Ning Chuan smiled slightly and spoke directly in his mind. As Conqueror's domineering, after waiting for a long time, I finally asked someone to use it. System, start settlement. Congratulations to the host for decomposing and observing Conqueror's domineering power for 5 seconds and activating the 10,000 times cultivation return system. Start the settlement of cultivation now. Settlement is successful. Congratulations to the host for successfully decomposing and observing Conqueror's domineering 50,000 second cultivation level return. Host's understanding of Conqueror's haki has been greatly improved. The cultivation level returned for the first time has given Ning Chuan a deep understanding of Conqueror's haki. But he didn't hesitate at all, and immediately started the second system settlement. System, continue settlement. Congratulations host. Congratulations to the host. Conqueror's domineering power lasts 5 seconds and activates the 10,000 times return system. Start practice settlement now. Settlement is successful. Congratulations to the host for successfully receiving Conqueror's domineering 50,000 seconds of cultivation back. Host has mastered Conqueror's haki. Deep in Ning Chuan's heart, the familiar voice of the system kept echoing, until the system told him that he had fully mastered Conqueror's haki. Ning Chuan finally showed a satisfied smile on his face. After waiting for so long, I can finally drive Conqueror's haki. Next, let me show you my Conquerors. The next moment, Ning Chuan closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and then suddenly opened them, with a flash of light in his eyes. An unprecedentedly powerful aura began to erupt from his body, instantly covering the entire battlefield. At this time, everyone on the field, whether it's marine or pirates, at this moment, everyone was stunned by this sudden sense of oppression. Ning Chuan's Conqueror's domineering spirit is sweeping the world like a hurricane at this moment. Even the clouds on the horizon seemed to be torn apart by this force and scattered into pieces of clouds. The waves of the sea miraculously calmed down under this pressure. Those marine soldiers who were still struggling under Shanks' Conqueror's dominance just now, it can no longer resist this more powerful pressure. One after another, they fell down one after another, as if they had received an invisible blow. Fell into a brief coma. Some soldiers who had just woken up had not yet had time to figure out what was going on. I fainted again. Ningchuan's conqueror's domineering power swept the entire sea area instantly with its unrivaled power. Shanks, who felt this terrifying power, froze on the spot, looking at Ningchuan standing in the air with complicated eyes. As a strong man with the same domineering power as Grandmaster Conqueror, he could clearly feel how amazing the power Ningchuan released was. In his opinion, Ningchuan not only mastered Conqueror's domineering power, and its strength is so high that it even exceeds the existence of most conquerors who have also mastered it. It's not even that different from what he is now. Ningchuan's growth rate is simply incredible and unheard of. This kid will do great things in the future. If it's an enemy, I'm afraid he will be a powerful enemy in the future. At some point, Beckman stood on the bow of the ship. Looking at Ningchuan standing in the sky, he couldn't help but say. At this time, not only Shank's crew members knew that Ningchuan had successfully opened Conquerors. In the distance, Sengoku and his 4 Marine senior executives. They all felt Ningchuan's terrifying Conqueror's domineering power for the first time. Warring States looked at Ningchuan in the distance, his eyes full of disbelief. How is this possible? Ningchuan, he actually mastered Conqueror's Haki at this time. How old is he to master this kind of thing? Garp in the distance could not help but smile at this moment and said. I knew that boy Ningchuan would definitely be the owner of Conquerors. However, he can activate it so early and upgrade his Conquerors to such a terrifying level in a short period of time. This boy's talent for cultivation is truly astonishing. But, you are my apprentice after all, so it's okay if it's not amazing, ha ha ha. Aokiji and Akainu, the 2 Marine generals. After feeling Ningchuan's Conquerors, everyone had a look of disbelief on their faces. They know how rare Conqueror's dominance is. Even though they have practiced for so long, they still have not mastered this ability. Ningchuan not only mastered it in advance, but also practiced to such intensity in a very short period of time. This really puts them both to shame. When everyone was shocked by Ningchuan's Conquerors, Shanks was not far away from Ningchuan, but his eyes never left Ningchuan. At this moment, he was full of curiosity and looked at Ningchuan and couldn't help but say. Ningchuan, what is your goal? What kind of dream gives you such a powerful Conqueror's domineering power? Shanks no. The awakening of Conqueror's domineering energy is related to people's goals. Without the determination to dominate, it is impossible to own Conquerors. And the strength of Conqueror's Haki. It is often closely related to personal will and dreams. As soon as Ningchuan awakens Conquerors, he can have such a terrifying effect. This shows that Ningchuan's dream seems to be far beyond his imagination. It's much scarier than becoming One Piece. Shanks couldn't figure it out anyway. What kind of belief can make a person's Conqueror's domineering so powerful? At this time, such a problem. It also appeared in the minds of Marine senior executives such as Sengoku and Garp. At this moment, they all want to understand why Ningchuan's Conquerors is so powerful. However, what they don't know is, Ningchuan's goal in his heart is just to protect Nami and the others. However, his protection is based on the possibility of targeting the 5 elders, I am, and even the entire world government. Even overthrow the whole world. Only with such ambition can one be qualified to awaken such a powerful Conqueror's Haki. As expected of Conqueror's domination. Shanks, you have to be careful next time. Ningchuan mastered Conqueror's Haki for the first time. He directly wrapped it around his Thunderfire sword. Saw Ningchuan's actions. Shanks froze on the spot. This kid even knows how to use Conquerors. When you open Conquerors for the first time, do you know that Conqueror's domineering energy can be wrapped around the weapon like the weapon color? This boy's fighting talent is probably not matched by many in the entire sea. Just when Shanks was shocked, Ningchuan was already waving the sword entangled with Conqueror's domineering spirit to kill him. In a hurry, Shanks had no choice but to pick up his sword and continue fighting with Ningchuan. But, what Shanks didn't know was, Ningchuan now regards him as his Conqueror's domineering sparring partner. System, start settlement. Congratulations to the host for successfully using Conqueror's domineering power for 10 seconds and activating the 10,000-fold return system. Start practice settlement now. Settlement is successful. Congratulations to host for successfully getting the refund for using Conqueror's Hockey 100,000 seconds cultivation. Host's mastery of Conqueror's Hockey has been greatly improved. The moment Ningchuan's cultivation returned, he used his newly acquired cultivation level in battle. Shanks, who was playing against him, suddenly felt a little more pressure from Ningchuan. Here, how can this kid's conquerors become stronger in battle? How on earth did he do it? Shanks became more and more frightened as he fought. He actually felt the same terrifying scene as before. It was really hard for him to imagine how Ningchuan did all this. Shanks's expression became extremely solemn, and the smile on his face at the beginning was no longer there. If this brat is allowed to grow up any longer, I must lose. Under the constant settlement of the system, Ningchuan's conqueror's dominance quickly rose to a level unimaginable by ordinary people at an astonishing speed. When he looked at Shanks with a smile again, the conqueror's domineering energy that pervades his body has the potential to surpass Shanks. This change made Shanks look extremely solemn. Shanks knows very well that facing such a rapidly improving opponent, if you want to win, you must come up with your trump card as soon as possible. If Ningchuan keeps dragging him down like this, he will most likely be taken down first. Shanks decided not to hold anything back. Directly use witness kill to end this battle in an instant. Ningchuan, you are very strong. However, this time, I won't fail again. Shanks closed his eyes. His spirit was highly concentrated at this moment, and there seemed to be an invisible wave in the air, centered on him and spreading in all directions. Ningchuan suddenly felt a vague aura locking onto him. This breath is different from anything I have experienced before. Is it killing on sight? Finally the trick is coming. Ningchuan knew Shanks' final trump card. He has the passive ability to split the fruit into pieces, and he is not panicking at all at this moment. Haven't you felt it yet? A sneer appeared on Shanks' lips. The next moment, his figure suddenly disappeared from where he was. It's like it has merged into the gap of time, leaving only an afterimage. The moment he disappeared, Shanks' knowledge and killing was like an invisible shackle, instantly locking Ningchuan's senses, making him lose his ability to predict Shanks' next actions. This moment, Ningchuan's arrogance seemed to have entered chaos. The trajectory of Shanks' actions becomes unclear. His every move seemed to be covered by something unknown, making it impossible for anyone to see clearly. Faced with such a sudden change, Ningchuan's reaction was extremely calm. After all, this is Shanks' trump card, a key ability that can change the situation of the battle. It would be weird if it wasn't strong. But at this time, Ningchuan didn't panic at all. His brain began to work rapidly at this moment, trying to forcefully find a solution to crack the murder. However, just when Ningchuan was about to make a move, Shanks' figure appeared behind him like a ghost. The cold light of the griffin in his hand flashed away, pointing directly at Ningchuan's abdomen. This moment, the air seemed to freeze and time seemed to have stood still. Shanks's sword stabbed Ningchuan with the belief of victory. But he was measured. When stabbing, the tip of the sword is not pointed at a fatal place such as the heart. His purpose is to seriously injure Ningchuan, making him temporarily unable to fight again. In this case, they will have a greater chance of breaking out of the encirclement. What's more, Shanks didn't want to see such a talented young man fall by his sword like this. However, what Shanks didn't expect was, at the moment when the tip of his sword was about to touch Ningchuan, he actually saw a relaxed smile on Ningchuan's face. There is absolutely no tension and fear that should arise when facing the threat of death. The next second, Ningchuan suddenly broke into several pieces, and each part was scattered. Just like Buggy's ability to split the fruit into pieces, Shanks' sword was instantly thrown away. This scene made Shanks stunned. Then he realized it immediately. The ability Ningchuan is showing now is exactly the ability to split the fruit that can restrain all swordsmen. Why does this guy use Buggy's fruit ability? Aren't all devil fruits abilities unique? One hit missed, and Shanks immediately retreated dozens of meters away. He looked at Ningchuan with a shocked expression. In Shanks' memory, Buggy is the only one who can use similar abilities. And now, Ningchuan also showed the same skills. This is the situation in front of me. It's hard for Shanks, an old navigator who once sailed around the world, to understand. However, Shanks did not let his guard down. He was keenly aware that Ning Chuan was observing the sword killer he had just used with an unprecedented concentration. Could it be that this kid even wants to steal my trick? Shanks was secretly alert. He knows very well that knowledge and killing is one of his biggest trump cards. Once Ning Chuan understands the mystery and masters it all, then you and your pirate group will be in danger next. This boy is so difficult to deal with. Shanks cursed silently. Now he is actually a little unsure whether he can take down this brat Ning Chuan. Facing such a talented opponent like Ning Chuan, Shanks knew he couldn't underestimate the enemy. He wanted to capture Ning Chuan before he completely learned how to kill by sight. Otherwise, with Ning Chuan's growth rate, he will become a huge problem. Shanks quickly adjusted his status. The power of seeing, hearing and killing is used to the extreme. Try to block all Ning Chuan's perceptions as much as possible. However, at this moment, there was a calm smile on Ning Chuan's face. System, settle the matter. Congratulations to the host for successfully observing and killing for 1 second and activating the 10,000 times return system. Start practice settlement now. Settlement is successful. Congratulations to host for successfully obtaining the reward of 10,000 seconds of observation, knowledge and killing. Host's understanding of knowledge and killing has improved. Is it just an improvement? However, if you have someone to train with you next time, you won't have to worry about not being able to master it. Ning Chuan smiled slightly. Feeling Shanks' knowledge and knowledge closing in on him once again, he couldn't help but say in his heart, Shanks, I haven't finished reading what you just said. The next step is to see your performance. At this time, Shanks activates the ability to see, hear and kill to the maximum. There was no relaxation in my heart, but an unprecedented sense of urgency. He knew very well that once Ning Chuan mastered the essence of knowledge and killing, his original advantage would be gone. Under such circumstances, if Ning Chuan really chooses to help Marine, it's entirely possible that he used delaying tactics to hold off Shanks. This allowed Marine's 4 top brass to defeat the remaining pirates one by one. No matter how strong Beckman is, he can't withstand the attack of 4 high-level Marines. As time goes by, defeat is inevitable. Thinking of this, Shanks' eyes became solemn, and he decided to adopt a more radical strategy. Therefore, Shanks did not hesitate to push his knowledge to the limit. He also adjusted his body to its optimal condition. Every breath and every heartbeat of his was making final preparations to defeat Ning Chuan. Completely block your knowledge. Next, I have to take you down with my fists. After knowing Ning Chuan's ability, Shanks had to temporarily abandon the sword in his hand. Because for Ning Chuan, there is no possibility of winning in this game. Watching Shanks kill him from where he was with a hint of anxiety, Ning Chuan said silently in his heart without caring. System, continue settlement. Congratulations host. System, continue settlement. Congratulations to host's defense, which has been greatly improved. Congratulations to host for successfully mastering the ability to see and kill. After Ning Chuan received countless punches, finally heard the beautiful sound I wanted to hear. And Shanks, who has been hitting Ning Chuan with his fists. At this moment, I just felt my fists were numb. You don't play like this. How is it possible that this kid's physical strength is constantly getting stronger? However, just when he was ready to go all out and continue fighting, he suddenly saw a glimmer of light flashing in Ning Chuan's eyes. The next moment, he actually felt as if his aura of knowledge had been invaded by a special force. It makes it difficult for him to predict Ning Chuan's next actions. Is this killing on sight? Am I taking off my clothes? Chapter 71. Shanks felt that Ning Chuan was using his ability to see, hear and kill and was gradually blocking his perception. A sense of powerlessness emerged in his heart. Shanks understood that he was still a step too slow. Ning Chuan, this brat, has successfully mastered his own abilities. Shanks knew it from previous experience. I'm afraid it won't be long before Ning Chuan can overtake him in the ability to see, hear, and kill. At that time, it will be his turn to block his own knowledge. Once this blockade is completed, you will lose your accurate prediction of the surrounding environment. At that time, the balance of the battle will completely tilt towards Marine's side. At this time, a trace of regret and helplessness flashed in Shanks's eyes. He knew that this battle might have reached a moment when a decision had to be made. Faced with Ning Chuan's increasingly mature ability to see, hear and kill, Shanks made a quick decision. He turned to look at Beckman and spoke extremely seriously. Beckman, you take Buggy and leave now. I'll hold Ning Chuan back. If you don't leave, it will be too late. As Shanks' right-hand man. When Beckman heard this, there was no hesitation on his face. He quickly lifted Buggy, who was stunned by Conqueror's hockey, onto his shoulders. Jumped directly back to their own ship. Prepare to set sail and rush out of the marine encirclement at full speed. Sengoku, Garp, Aokiji, and Akainu are the 4 marine senior executives. After seeing Beckman, he wanted to leave with Buggy, who fainted. Without any hesitation, they attacked Shanks' pirate ship at the same time. They knew this was a great opportunity. Shanks, the strongest fighter, was held back by Ning Chuan. The powerful Buggy fainted for some reason. There was only one Beckman left among the high-level combat forces on the red-haired ship. Don't miss this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. As the second in command of the pirate group, Beckman immediately took over the command. Demonstrated due decisiveness and courage. Facing the approach of General Marine, he did not flinch at all, but stepped forward. The 2 flintlock guns in his hands were pointed at Marine's 4 top combatants with a cold light. Beckman took a deep breath and poured all his domineering energy into his 2 guns. Aiming at the incoming people, he immediately pulled the trigger. With 4 crisp gunshots, Conqueror's domineering bullets roared out, heading straight for the generals. Boom, boom, boom. The bullets fired by Beckman were extremely powerful. The 4 people from the Warring States period were caught off guard when they attacked. They never thought that a gunman could cause such powerful destructive power. Beckman, as expected of Shanks' deputy. The strength is indeed very strong and should not be underestimated. Almost at the same time, the 4 of them had similar thoughts in their minds. However, Beckman's move could only temporarily block the progress of the 4. While he was reloading, Warring States and the 4 of them came back to fight again. I've never fought with a Marine General level combat power. Jesus B.U., the sniper master in the red-haired pirate group, smiled slightly. He raised the sniper rifle in his hand, his eyes shining with confidence. Special bullets with a domineering aura were shot out like raindrops at this moment. Each of his bullets contains enough power to penetrate steel. The 4 Warring States people also had to evade. At the same time, Rakiru and other members of the red-haired pirate group were also prepared for a desperate fight. Each took out his own weapon. Use all your strength to inspire the domineering energy in your body. As long as these senior executives of Marine are nearby, they will rush out and try their best to stop their advance. All of them are ready to risk their lives for their companions. HMPH. Want to run. Ice Age. Aokiji didn't hesitate and directly pressed his hand on the sea. The ability of the frozen fruit was activated at this moment. The entire sea area was frozen directly. Even Hongfa's ship was instantly frozen on the ice by Aokiji. Break the ice, quickly. Almost instantly, Rakiru jumped directly from the ship and punched hundreds of meters of cracks in the ice below. Others saw Rakiru's actions. One after another got off the boat to assist. Not long after, a new channel was opened up by them. Big fire breathing. Akainu didn't hesitate. When Shanks' ship is about to set sail again, he directly poured out countless lava fists, trying to completely destroy Shanks' pirate ship. At the same time, Warring States roared angrily, and his body instantly expanded, transforming into a huge golden Buddha. He waved his palms and released several powerful shock waves, heading towards the pirate ship. Garp is not far behind. He was so fast that he rushed into the sky almost instantly and struck a hard blow at the pirate ship directly below. Fist and bone clash. A clash of fists and bones was like thunder, carrying unparalleled power, and hit Shanks' pirate ship hard. Facing the siege of so many powerful enemies, Beckman's pressure has almost reached its limit. However, he did not give up, but fought hard. The flintlock gun in his hand kept firing, and domineering bullets poured out like raindrops, trying to block the Marine General's offensive. The other members were not idle either, and they all tried their best to help Beckman block this fatal blow. However, there is a huge gap in the number of top combat forces. This makes their defense seem a bit stretched. After this huge bombardment, Everyone, including Beckman, was seriously injured. Fortunately for them, the ship was saved. At the same time, Shanks, who was tightly entangled by Ning Chuan, was even more anxious. He knew very well that if he did not support Beckman and others, I'm afraid they won't be able to withstand Marine's next fierce attack. However, facing Ning Chuan, a very difficult opponent, Shanks could not escape for a while. He looked at Ning Chuan, hesitated for a moment and finally spoke. Ning Chuan, sell me a favor and let me take Buggy away. You're not from Marine, so you don't need to fight for them. Shanks tried to evade Ning Chuan. Let Ning Chuan give him a face and stop temporarily. After all, this is the only trick he can use now to make Ning Chuan stop pestering him. I don't care if you want to leave, but Buggy must stay. Even if you can snatch him away again after I leave him to Garp, I won't continue to interfere. After all, this is a promise between me and others, or you can exchange the crew members on your ship for Buggy with a bounty of 1 billion. Listen to Ning Chuan's words. A hint of displeasure suddenly appeared on Shanks' face. Ask him to trade his crew or friends, but Shanks will never agree. Ning Chuan knew very well that people like Shanks valued friendship far beyond what others could understand. For him, giving up any partner is impossible to accept. However, Ning Chuan did not want to see Shanks' pirate ship suffer heavy damage because of Buggy's incident. After thinking about it for a while, he decided to take a more direct approach and snatch Buggy away directly. By snatching Buggy away himself, Shanks was able to find time to help Beckman. Sengoku and others will also withdraw because they have caught Buggy. After all, dealing with a group of 4 emperors is not that simple. If you really want to fight to the death with Shanks and the others, I'm afraid Marine will also be hit hard. In this way, Shanks and the others should be able to escape easily. System, continue to settle the information and kill. Congratulations to the host for successfully using the 20 seconds of knowledge killing and activating the 10,000-fold return system. Start practice settlement now. Settlement is successful. Congratulations to the host for successfully getting the 200,000 seconds of practice reward for using the knowledge kill. Host's mastery of knowledge and killing has been greatly improved. System, continues settlement. Congratulations host. Under the continuous settlement of the system, Ning Chuan has pushed his ability to see, hear and kill to a whole new level. I saw Ning Chuan closing his eyes, and the aura around him suddenly became much stronger. The invisible sense of oppression in the air becomes stronger at this moment. The next moment, his eyes shot open. His eyes are as bright as a torch, as if he can see through everything. Shanks only felt that his domineering power was completely blocked by a powerful force. Everything around him became blurry, and even the flow of time seemed to slow down. This boy's knowledge and skills really surpass mine. Shanks, who was familiar with the ability to witness and kill, immediately realized the seriousness of the matter. However, he didn't have time to react. I saw Ning Chuan taking advantage of the moment when Shanks was in trouble. The figure flickered and disappeared from the place like a ghost. When he appeared again, he had already appeared on the red-haired pirate group's ship. The moment he saw Ning Chuan appear on the boat, Beckman was about to step forward to intercept him. However, he was forced by the fierce momentum of the sword in Ning Chuan's hand and had to take a step back. Ning Chuan didn't hesitate and reached out to grab Buggy's clothes. With a turn, he took him away from the red-haired pirate's ship. Warring States and others were overjoyed when they saw that Buggy had been captured by Ning Chuan. They all know that as long as Buggy falls into their hands, the purpose of this battle will be achieved. If we continue to fight the Shanks pirates, we will only suffer more sacrifices for no reason. As a result, Sengoku and others stopped their offensive against the Shanks pirates and began to retreat to the temporary command ship in an orderly manner. They don't want to continue to tangle with Shanks and the red-haired pirates who are about to recover. After all, catching Buggy is what matters most. Wait until the Warring States period and several people return to the boat. Seeing the Buggy under Ning Chuan's feet, their faces showed joy. Ning Chuan left Buggy to Garp and said with a smile, "Lieutenant General Garp, I leave this man to you. The agreement between us is about to end. I owe you 3 billion, and now I've paid you 5 billion. You've made a lot of money with your blood." Garp looked at the Buggy in his hand. There was a hint of helplessness on his face. Unexpectedly, in the end, Buggy was caught by Ning Chuan. Everyone, I have consumed too much and need to rest for a while. The rest is up to you. After completing the agreement with Garp, Ning Chuan was not ready to take action anymore. He temporarily took Nami and the others back to his boat on the grounds that he had consumed too much. Following him back together was Tina, whose eyes were full of little stars. I just saw Ning Chuan's powerful ability to fight Shanks. She admires Ning Chuan now. Returned to his ship. Watching Shanks and his pirate group break out of Marine's encirclement, Ning Chuan leaned against the side of the ship, looking at the sea level in the distance. He knew in his heart that Shanks would never give up Buggy easily. He will definitely come back again. Whose hands will Buggy fall into next? It doesn't matter what happened to Ning Chuan. But Ning Chuan knew, if Shanks really comes back to fight, then it will be Sengoku and the others who will take full action next. Thinking of this, the corners of Ning Chuan's mouth couldn't help but curl up slightly. He is also very coveted for the form of the Great Buddha from the Warring States period. At this time, the Shanks pirate group had just broken out of the encirclement. Everyone on the boat had a hint of gloom on their faces. Along the way, they tasted failure for the first time. The feeling of powerlessness Ning Chuan felt when he snatched Buggy away in front of all of them. It makes them unable to calm down for a long time. No, we must fight back. We can't give up any of our friends. Shanks looked towards the direction where the marine warship was leaving, and held the griffin in his hand tightly. Hearing Shanks' words, others on the ship also grabbed their weapons. Next, all it takes is an order from Shanks. They will follow their captain and charge again. If what Ning Chuan said to me is true, then without his obstruction, it shouldn't be too difficult to bring Buggy back. Just when Shanks was thinking about planning how to return to the battlefield and rescue Buggy, a strong sense of crisis suddenly struck. He was keenly aware that two extremely powerful guys were staying in the sky above their pirate ship. Is it an enemy? The first time I felt this unusual atmosphere. Shanks' eyes suddenly became sharp. Are you two friends or enemies? If you are not enemies, you might as well come down and sit down. As soon as his words fell, I saw two figures falling from the sky without hesitation and standing firmly on the deck of the pirate ship. Shanks and Beckman looked at the two people who suddenly appeared. There was an incredible look on his face at the same time. The leader of the Revolutionary Army, Monkey D. Dragon, and the tyrant Bartholomew Big Bear. Why are you here? Shanks recognized the dragon's identity immediately. The leader of the Revolutionary Army, Long, is a guy who gives the world government a headache. At this moment, Long looked at Shanks with a smile. He knew that this guy with red hair was his son Luffy's idol. Shanks, I heard that my son Luffy likes you very much. I heard Ryu suddenly mention Luffy. Shanks was stunned for a moment. After all, he and Luffy had spent so much time together. But he had never heard Luffy mention his father's name. I only heard Luffy say that his grandfather is Garp, the marine hero who chased them throughout the Grand Line. Wait, you said, your son is Luffy. Then Lieutenant General Garp, isn't he your father? When he found out that the son of a dignified marine hero was actually the most wanted criminal in the world, even Shanks felt incredible. It's my father. Long admitted it directly and openly. However, these are digressions. Let's get straight to the point. I want to take Buggy away, and your purpose should be the same. If we have the same goals, how about we cooperate once? For the cooperation proposed by Long, the leader of the Revolutionary Army. After Shanks thought for a long time, he finally nodded and agreed. Because he knew that it would be difficult to rescue Buggy from Marine with just the strength of his own pirate group. But with the help of the Revolutionary Army, maybe we can succeed. Soon, Shanks and Long reached a cooperation. The two quickly formulated a detailed action plan. The red-haired pirates are responsible for diverting Marine's main force. The dragon and the tyrant bear took the opportunity to take Buggy away. However, this plan is good. There is one important variable among them, and that is Ning Chuan. This guy's strength might actually be able to stop Long and Big Bear. Shanks hesitated now. He didn't know whether what Ning Chuan said to him at that time was true or false. If it was true, he would have stopped interfering in this matter after giving Buggy to Marine. Then this operation will definitely be successful. But if he was lying to himself, then the dragon and the tyrant bear might be in a lot of trouble. Shanks told Long and Big Bear this key information. After hearing this, Long nodded seriously. Regardless of whether Ning Chuan will intercept his actions next, he will do his best to rescue Buggy. After all, this guy is the first person in the world who dares to publicly kill the celestial dragon. Bring him into the Revolutionary Army. Then the influence of the Revolutionary Army in the world must be much greater than before. After setting up a detailed battle plan, Shanks led the red-haired pirate group, turned the ship around, and launched a second attack on the Marine force. The war is back. On the sea, countless Marine warships fired at Shanks' pirate ship. For a time, the entire sea area was filled with artillery fire and smoke. Ning Chuan stood on the bow of his boat. While sitting there, enjoying Tina's attentive massage. While watching Shanks' ship break through Marine's heavy defense lines, they came through the waves. As he had predicted, Shanks would not give up Buggy easily. Is that Shanks' pirate ship? He actually made a comeback again. Tina looked at the battlefield in the distance and couldn't help but frown. While Tina was worried about the situation on the battlefield, Ning Chuan suddenly raised his head at this moment and looked at the top of his head. His sense and color hockey suddenly sensed two different auras at this moment. He looked up and suddenly found two figures looking at him in the sky. Ning Chuan only glanced at these two people and recognized their identities. It is Ryu, the leader of the Revolutionary Army, and the Tyrant Bear, one of the Shichibukai. Are these two guys here also for Buggy? Buggy's luck is really outrageous. Ning Chuan was secretly shocked that there were waves of people wanting to rescue Buggy. However, he looked at the two people standing above him. Ning Chuan had no intention of intercepting them. After all, he had given Buggy to Marine. What happens next has nothing to do with me. But for Dragon and Tyrant Bear's devil fruit abilities, he was somewhat interested, but Ning Chuan knew that he didn't have to rush. In the future, when I go to the Grand Route, I should have many opportunities to come into contact with them. Seeing that Ning Chuan showed no signs of taking action, Long and Tyrant Shang secretly breathed a sigh of relief. It seems that Shanks's judgment on Ning Chuan was not wrong. The young powerful man seemed to have no intention of interfering with their actions. As a result, the two of them were suspended in the air above Ning Chuan's head. Like two guardian angels, they are always ready to find the best time to grab Buggy. Still not leaving yet? Forget it if you don't leave, it has nothing to do with me anyway. Ning Chuan ignored the two guys above him. Continued to direct Tina to pinch her shoulders and beat her legs. Sengoku witnessed the red-haired pirate's ships breaking through the blockade again. Anger suddenly surged in his heart. Provocation again and again. Do you really think we don't dare to take action against your red-haired pirates? Sengoku crushed the cup in his hand and looked at Garp and the others again. Go all out this time. Try to keep the Shanks pirates for me. Under the orders of the Warring States period. The four of them quickly gathered together. At the same time, he flew out of the ship and headed towards the Shanks pirate ship. Their speed was so fast that they reached the sky above the Shanks pirate ship in almost an instant. Warring States stood at the front, his eyes as sharp as a hawk, looking directly at Shanks. Shanks, give up. Buggy, you can't take it with you. If I continue to provoke Marine, I will keep you too. However, facing the threat of the Warring States period, Shanks responded with a smile. If you want to fight, let's fight. Where's all the nonsense? Ning Chuan is not here, I can easily capture you. Not enough words to speculate. Seeing that they could not negotiate, the Warring States period and the others no longer hesitated and prepared to take action with all their strength. Seeing that Shanks is determined and unwilling to give up Buggy, Warring States' face darkened and gave the order decisively. Start the war. Before he finished speaking, the atmosphere on the sea instantly became solemn. The war is about to break out. Aokiji was the first to move. In order to stop the Shanks pirate ship from advancing, he directly used Ice Age to freeze the vast sea surface instantly. Even Shanks and his pirate ship were instantly frozen on the sea. At the same time, Warring States roared angrily and transformed into a huge golden Buddha statue again. He fought alongside Garp and charged directly at Shanks. This moment, the two veterans had the same idea in mind. That is to see if they can really keep Shanks, the great pirate, this time. Akainu and Aokiji attacked Beckman. Their goals are quite clear. Just take down Beckman and Shanks. Then the morale and combat effectiveness of the red-haired pirates will be greatly reduced, and the entire team may face disintegration. Other Lieutenant Generals Ghost Spider and Huo Shaoshan also joined the battle. Start a fierce battle with the members of the red-haired pirates. Their mission is to prevent the pirates from destroying the ice and ensure that the marine fleet can retreat smoothly. Seeing that all his people were being held back, Shanks looked deliberately worried. He seems to be worried about not being able to break through Marine's blockade. But in fact, he was already happy. All Marine's advanced combat power was deployed. Then the protection on the fleet is particularly empty. As long as Ning Chuan doesn't take action next, then it is a certainty that the dragon and the tyrant bear will succeed. However, the anxious look on Shanks' face seemed to Warring States to put him at ease. The more anxious Shanks is at this time, the safer Buggy is. Just drag Shanks' pirate group here and prevent them from advancing even half a minute. When the Marine fleet leaves, everything will be a foregone conclusion. When Marine's large force left, Ning Chuan's small boat did not leave with the large army. His eyes were always fixed on the battlefield in the distance. What he paid special attention to was the huge golden Buddha form of the Warring States period. He has been coveting the fruits of Warring States for a long time. This time, among his goals, he only had the ability of the Warring States period that he had not yet obtained. And this time Shanks went to war with Marine again. It just gave Ning Chuan the perfect opportunity to get the Buddha form of Renren fruit. No matter what the final outcome of this war is, he, Ning Chuan, is the biggest winner. Tina had been massaging Ning Chuan's shoulders. At this time, my admiration for Ning Chuan increased a lot again. Captain Ning Chuan is really too just. I don't want to retreat with the large army, but I want to stay on the edge of the battlefield to recover my strength so that I can return to the battlefield as soon as possible and continue fighting. No, I also want to contribute to this battle. I have to massage Captain Ning Chuan more seriously so that he can recover faster. After some self-brainwashing, Tina started massaging Ning Chuan more seriously. Nami and the three of them were all holding telescopes at this moment and looking at the raging battlefield in the distance. Various devil fruit abilities, icebergs, lava and even the huge golden Buddha statue. They all left a very deep impression. The strong men on the sea are really strong. I want to become as strong as them. Nami raised her little fist and couldn't help but speak. I want to be like that swordsman, able to fight with such monsters with a sword. Kuina couldn't help but clenched her fists and said loudly, "Well, let's work hard together. We should help Ning Chuan more when we fight in the future. We must not drag him down." Nokigao put on a sisterly attitude, put her hands on the shoulders of Nami and Kuina and said seriously. Listening to their words, Ning Chuan showed a smile on his face. "If it comes to the point where you have to go to the battlefield, I, Ning Chuan, am really not qualified." Ning Chuan stared at the giant Buddha form of the Warring States period for a long time. He spoke directly in his mind. "System, settle the matter. Congratulations to the host for successfully observing the Renren fruit, fantasy beast species, and big Buddha form abilities for 5 seconds and activating the 10,000 times return system. Start practice settlement now. Settlement is successful. Congratulations to the host for successfully receiving the 50,000 second cultivation return of the observer fruit, phantom beast species, and big Buddha form ability. Host's understanding of Renren fruit, phantom beast species, and big Buddha form has been greatly improved. Feeling the additional understanding of the fruits of the Buddha form in my mind after the system cultivation level returned. Ning Chuan couldn't help but reveal a satisfied smile. However, he knew that just reaching this level was not enough. He stared at every move of the Warring States period on the battlefield in the distance, and continued to say in his heart. System, continue settlement. Congratulations host. System, continue settlement. With the help of the system's continuous return of cultivation, Ning Chuan soon had an extremely detailed understanding of the fruit abilities of the Warring States period. He now knows every detail of the Buddha's transformation. Know the power behind every action and the perfect blend of domineering and physical skills. Congratulations to host for being able to successfully use the ability of Renren fruit, fantasy beast species, and big Buddha form. After hearing the system feedback sound, Ning Chuan raised the corners of his mouth slightly and said with a smile. It's time to transform into a giant Buddha. Following Ning Chuan's thoughts, he stood up slowly, and the atmosphere around him changed subtly. In order not to sink his own boat, Ning Chuan gently patted Tina, temporarily asking her to stop. Then only the tips of his feet were seen, and he flew to the sea. The next moment, his figure suddenly swelled, and bursts of dazzling golden light emitted from his whole body. Soon, he transformed into a huge golden Buddha statue just like in the Warring States period. Ning Chuan felt that at this moment, both his strength and combat power were much more powerful than before. He stretched out a hand and gently pressed it towards the sea. Immediately afterwards, a huge shock wave directly set off huge waves on the calm sea. Yes, you can even use shock waves. This is a perfect transformation. Ning Chuan was very satisfied with the giant Buddha he transformed into. However, this level is not enough. Let's continue with the settlement. Congratulations to the host for successfully using the Renren fruit, fantasy beast species, and Big Buddha form ability for 10 seconds, and activating the 10,000-fold return system. At the same time, Nami and the 4 others on the boat looked at the huge golden Buddha statue in front of them, with extremely shocked expressions on their faces. Nami and the other 3 are fine. After all, following Ning Chuan for so long, I have seen a lot of strange things. The threshold in my heart is much higher. But this was the first time for Tina to see such a shocking scene. Her jaw almost dropped to the ground in shock. Big Buddha. Isn't this the ability of the Sengoku Fleet Admiral? Wait a minute, are the rumors true? Captain Ningchuan can really learn other people's devil fruit abilities. As expected of Captain Ningchuan, this is so awesome. I don't know whether Captain Ningchuan can appreciate my fruit ability. For a moment, Tina's eyes were full of admiration. The dragon and the tyrant bear stood directly above their boat. Watching Ning Chuan suddenly turn into a golden Buddha just like the Warring States period. Long was shocked and almost failed to maintain the power of the wind fruit, causing the 2 of them to fall from the sky. Why did this kid suddenly become a giant Buddha? Isn't this Sengoku's ability? How could he use Sengoku's ability? Hearing Long's shocked words, Tyrant Bear shook his head slightly and spread his hands, indicating that he didn't know. Long stared at Ning Chuan for a while and said helplessly, "Forget it, I'm afraid I won't be able to figure out this kid's abilities for a while. Ignore him for now. The Marine Fleet has gone far, and Shanks has successfully entangled Sengoku and the others. It's time for us to take action." When the dragon and the tyrant bear discovered that the attention of Marine's top brass was focused on the fierce battle on the front line, the 2 looked at each other and smiled. They knew that the long-awaited opportunity had finally arrived. Long looked at Ning Chuan, who had transformed into a giant Buddha. Looking at him, Long nodded slightly, expressing silent gratitude. Then, he controlled the power of the fruit and began to quickly approach the Marine Fleet in the distance with the big bear. Looking at the 2 people leaving, Ning Chuan couldn't help but smile. It seems that Marine's operation to capture Buggy will fail again this time. I don't know how angry the 5 elders will be after this operation failed. However, after Buggy escapes this time, his bounty will probably increase again, right? Tisk tisk, he is indeed a guy with heaven-defying luck. Sengoku and Garp are going all out. Under the full attack of the 2 men, Shanks gradually fell into a disadvantage. However, although Garp and Sengoku teamed up to temporarily gain the upper hand, they suppressed Shanks. But they all know it in their hearts. It will not be easy to completely defeat Shanks. Unless the 3 of them fight here for days and nights, relying on the 2-on-1 advantage to kill Shanks. Otherwise, it will be difficult to capture him in a short time. At this moment, the 2 of them couldn't help but start to wonder. Ning Chuan at the end of the battle with Shanks. How on earth did he suppress a strong man like Shanks? At the critical moment when the battle between the 2 sides was heating up, an inexplicable uneasiness suddenly surged in Zhang Guo's heart. With his many years of combat experience, he instinctively felt that Shanks' attack on Marine again did not seem simple. There seems to be some fraud. Taking advantage of the gap in the battle, Warring States took advantage of his huge size advantage and glanced back. This sight made his heart suddenly tighten. He suddenly discovered that behind the Marine Fleet, there were 2 unidentified figures continuing to chase. For a while, warning bells are ringing in the hearts of the warring states. He immediately realized that this was probably a carefully planned plan to lure the tiger away from the mountain. Warring States lowered his head and looked at Shank's calm expression. There was no concern at all about the Marine fleet leaving with Buggy. It's like all the worries I had before are gone now. In this way, the speculation of the Warring States was further strengthened. It's definitely a scam. As a wise general, Sengoku was well aware of the cunning of pirates. Shank's current performance is undoubtedly sending a signal. It's all in his calculations. We must find a way to go back and see. Just when the Warring States was filled with uneasiness, terrifying tornadoes suddenly rolled up on the originally calm sea. Like the wrath of the gods, it completely enveloped the entire marine fleet. This scene made Sangwo's face instantly become extremely ugly. He finally realized that he had really fallen into Shank's trap. Garp's face was equally gloomy. When he first saw this strange tornado, he had an ominous premonition in his heart. Dragon. Garp recognized it at first sight. This was probably the work of his son, Monkey D. Long. At this moment, Garp understood. The appearance of the dragon is no accident, but part of Shank's careful planning. Among the few, Garp is the fastest. He gave up the fight with Shanks almost as a reflex. He turned around and galloped away in the direction of the marine fleet. He increased his speed to the extreme, so fast that it almost surpassed ordinary people's understanding. However, the fleet is now too far away. Even with Garp's speed, he couldn't rush back in time to save the situation. When Garp finally arrived at the fleet's command post, the scene in front of him completely stunned him. I saw my good eldest son, Long, looking at me with a smile. The big bear stood beside him. Directly in front of him, he used the power of the meatball fruit and pressed it on Buggy's body. The next moment, Buggy disappeared from where he was in an instant. The speed was so fast that Garp could hardly see clearly. At this moment, Garp felt mixed emotions. He knew that Marine's operation failed completely this time. He looked at his big boy very helplessly. Long smiled apologetically at him. The moment Garp's fist was about to hit his face, together with the tyrant bear, he was also shot away by the power of the meatball fruit. Looking at the horizon in the distance, the extremely violent tornado gradually stopped. Shank's eyes passed through the layers of wind and waves, and there was a trace of confidence in his eyes. The plan worked, he whispered to himself, an imperceptible smile forming on the corner of his mouth. He knew that under the tyrant bear's meatball fruit ability, Buggy should have been safely transported to the predetermined location by now. Away from the battlefield, without any hesitation, Shanks decisively ordered at this moment. Everyone retreats. Although his voice was not high, it reached everyone's ears. The members of the red-haired pirates were prepared in advance. The moment he heard the order, no one wanted to fight, so they fought off their opponents, quickly boarded the ship, and began to evacuate. Shanks directly used his special skill to kill. Instantly blocked the haki of Sengoku, Aokiji and Akainu. Seeing that Sei haki was sealed, Warring States and others immediately sensed a hint of danger. Directly switch from offense to defense to prevent Shanks from taking the opportunity to sneak attack. However, Shanks did not continue his attack on Marine. He looked at Sengoku and the others with a smile, and then swung his sword at the ice beneath his feet. The sword energy covered with tyrannical aura swept across, instantly cutting open a new path in the sea frozen by Aokiji. Beckman also raised his flintlock gun at this time. He gathered all his domineering power and fired a shot at the back of the boat. The moment the bullet exploded, their ship was directly pushed out by this extremely powerful explosive force. It flew far away in an instant, leaving the Marine senior management far behind. The red-haired pirates used this power to quickly break out of Marine's encirclement like an arrow. Watching the red-haired pirate group successfully escape, and listening to the joyful sounds of the pirates on their ship, Warring States and other senior officials were filled with complex emotions. Shanks managed to escape, but the warship where Buggy was detained was severely damaged. They are now in a dilemma. Warring States knew that if the pursuit continued, something might happen to Buggy. Therefore, the Warring States made the decision to return to defense in an instant. After all, Buggy is the most important thing. However, when they rushed back to the fleet as quickly as possible, All I saw was Garp standing helplessly on the deck, with unspeakable frustration written all over his face. I'm too late. The dragon of the Revolutionary Army and the tyrant bear of Shichibukai rescued Buggy together. There was a hint of helplessness in Garp's voice. Although he rushed back as quickly as possible, he still failed to stop them. After hearing what Garp said, the anger of the Warring States period was like a volcano erupting. He grabbed Garp by the collar, his eyes flashing with uncontrollable anger. Garp, explain it to me clearly. Your good son Long actually rescued Buggy. Our entire army has worked hard to catch him and give an explanation to the Draco and 5 elders. But the result ended up being robbed by your son from the Revolutionary Army. Sengoku's voice was full of frustration and anger. He couldn't accept this ending. After all, it has been since the beginning of the Great Pirate Era. Marines' morale is getting lower and lower. Even in the second half of the Grand Line, some big pirates opened up a new world belonging to pirates. And this time he personally led the team out just to take this opportunity to boost the morale of the entire army. Fortunately, I will stand tall in future battles with pirates. But it's better now. It was obvious that we had succeeded, but in the end we failed. Let alone boosting morale this time, I'm afraid morale would have dropped a lot. I'm afraid it will be even more difficult for Marine in the future. Warring States sighed helplessly. At the same time, Ning Chuan stood on his boat, looking in the distance in the direction Shanks left, with a smile on his lips. It seems that Marine has failed. Tisk, you really can't do it without me. On board the Marine warship. Marine is doomed. You know what, Garp. Garp was grabbed by the collar and looked at the angry Sengoku with a wry smile on his face. Then there's nothing I can do. How about you demote me one more level and let me become a major general? Although there was a bit of ridicule in Garp's words, there was also a hint of helplessness. When Warring States heard this, he was so angry that smoke almost came out of his head, but there was nothing he could do. He knew that even though Garp usually looked unreliable, but at this critical moment, he will not let go. After all, the biggest mistake this time was myself. He only focused on the Shanks pirates and didn't expect other forces to get involved. In the end, Warring States had no choice but to sigh deeply. Forget it, go back. Summary this action well. Next time, it won't be like today. Warring States knew that it was useless to say anything now. He had no choice but to temporarily put away his anger and ordered the entire army to withdraw to Marinfanduo and reorganize the army to cope with various situations that may arise on the sea in the future. At this time, Ning Chuan's boat also slowly arrived at the position of the Marine Command ship. He looked at the ugly expressions on the faces of the Marine executives. He understood immediately. My guess was correct, Buggy had been successfully rescued. Warring States also looked at Ning Chuan at this time. He had mixed feelings in his heart. In this naval battle, this guy is the one who gained the most. I remember when we were fighting Shanks, this kid also stole my big Buddha form. It's a pity that such a talent cannot be used by Marine. The Warring States period was also very helpless at this time. However, before leaving, he still did not give up and asked Ning Chuan one last time. Ning Chuan, don't you want to come and have a look at the Marine headquarters? There are many things there that may be of interest to you. For example, there are many devil fruit users you have never seen before. Hearing that Sengoku actually used other devil fruit ability users to tempt him, Ning Chuan smiled slightly and politely refused. Thank you Sengoku Fleet Admiral for the invitation, but I still have my own way to go. I hope we will have the opportunity to cooperate next time we meet. After saying that, Ning Chuan turned to look at Tina. Miss Tina, go back. Your massage technique is very good, I am very satisfied. Looking forward to meeting you next time. Tina stood aside, looking at the sunny and handsome boy in front of her, her eyes full of reluctance. But she is a Marine after all and must obey orders and retreat with the large army. Tina nodded regretfully. It was obvious that she liked being with Ning Chuan and the others. When returning to his ship, Tina has already made up her mind. She must practice hard and upgrade her rank to general level as soon as possible. In this case, she will have the opportunity to lead the warship to sea alone. After leaving the Marine fleet, Ning Chuan finally had time to sort out the gains from this battle. thinking back on what he gained after this battle. The smile on his face almost reached behind his ears. What a great harvest this time. Not only did I get frozen fruits, lava fruits, but also the ability to form a giant Buddha. It also allowed me to activate Conqueror's Haki, and also learned Shank's unique skills, kill with knowledge. Ning Chuan was naturally quite satisfied with his harvest this time. Just as he was calculating his gains this time, Nami, Nokigao and Kuina came over. Ning Chuan, where are we going next? Are you going to the Grand Line? You can tell, after experiencing a big scene that I have never seen before. Now Nami and the others are looking forward to the even more exciting Grand Route in the legend. No, before heading to the Grand Route, there is still a place we need to visit. Going somewhere, where? There was a hint of confusion on the faces of Nami and the others. Naturally, they couldn't guess where Ning Chuan wanted to go. The land of music, Elijah. A week later, the 4 people who were playing mahjong on the boat finally saw the island where the country of music is located. Through the telescope, I saw the blue sea against the white sand beach. Groups of white pigeons flew under the blue sky, and rainbows crossed the city. This beautiful scene, like a fairy tale, makes people feel relaxed and happy. The country of music is indeed a very romantic place. As their boat gradually docked, Ning Chuan's eyes were fixed on a ship moored by the sea. This ship is very familiar to Ning Chuan, it is Shank's pirate ship. It seems Shanks and the others brought Yuta here not long ago. But with Yuta's singing talent, she should have been targeted by the sealed demon by now. Before she sings the forbidden music, we must stop her. Ning Chuan knew clearly, once Yuta sings the forbidden music, then the demon sealed beneath the land of music will be released. Bring disaster to this beautiful country of music. Yuta is also a poor girl, please help her. It would be great if there was a singer on board. Actually, from the moment Ning Chuan saw Yuta on the Shank's boat, he then came up with the idea of luring Yuta to his ship. For this sweet little girl, he didn't want Yuta to end up with the same tragic ending as in the original plot. With this idea in mind, Ning Chuan took Nami and the others towards the palace of the Music Kingdom. Although I don't know what Yuta's situation is now. I wonder if Yuta got the forbidden music from the Devil's Men. But as long as you go to the palace, you can remind the king in advance to pay attention to the forbidden music. Then you can prevent Yuta from making a big mistake in advance. They walked quickly through the busy streets. Watching the street artists playing to their heart's content, the cheerful melody filled the entire city. The 3 of them soon arrived at the central square of the Music Kingdom. A magnificent music venue comes into view in the distance. The melodious sound of the piano is constantly heard in the hall, which all reflects the tranquility and peace of this place. But Ning Chuan knew that as long as the devil was released, all this beauty may be destroyed by the coming disaster. Just when Ning Chuan took Nami and the 3 of them to the palace, suddenly, bursts of noise came from the tavern nearby. Ha ha ha, I must have a few more drinks. We finally rescued Buggy from Marine's men and escaped successfully. You must relax and relax. Beckman, Lakiru, let's go to another tavern and continue drinking. Ha ha. A familiar voice was heard. Ning Chuan turned around and took a look. I saw Shanks being supported by several other people and staggering out of the tavern. It was obvious that they drank too much and were chased away by the tavern owner. Shanks was staggering forward when he suddenly saw a familiar figure standing in front of him. He looked at it carefully for a while and was so frightened that he almost woke up from the wine. Isn't this that brat from Ningchuan? Why is this little pervert here? I dazzled. The first time I saw Ning Chuan, Shank's men immediately became alert. They held their hands on their weapons and assumed a posture ready to fight at any time. For a time, the air was filled with tension. Hey hey hey. What are you doing? This boy Ning Chuan has helped us a lot, but we can't treat our friends like this. Shanks raised his hand to signal Lakiru and the others to stop. There was a hint of smile in his eyes. He took the initiative to step forward, hugged Ning Chuan's neck, and smiled. Ning Chuan, I really didn't expect to meet you here. Thanks to you a few days ago, Buggy was able to escape. Ning Chuan pushed Shank's hand away with some disgust and responded very calmly. It's okay. After all, I'm not a marine. I don't care about whose hands Buggy falls into. Hear Ning Chuan's answer. Shanks smiled. then mysteriously leaned into Ning Chuan's ear. Is what Buggy said true? You actually forced him to kill the Tianlong people. You are so brave, kid. Aren't you afraid that if Buggy is caught, you will be exposed? For this question, Ning Chuan naturally didn't take it to heart. The evidence is all there, it has nothing to do with me. If those guys are really targeting me, they won't waste much time by killing a few more. Looking at Ning Chuan's confident look, Shanks was silent for a moment, then showed a wry smile. You are such a little fool. The Buggy incident is in the past. I'm not going to hold you accountable either. I can't beat you anyway. Shanks sighed helplessly at first. Then I saw a smile suddenly appear on his face. He looked at Ning Chuan and said seriously. How about, let's have a party. I still have a lot of good wine on board. Ha ha ha. Shanks' words made the surrounding men relax. They followed Shanks out to sea for so long. Naturally, I know that the guy who can be dragged into a banquet by Shanks can no longer fight. The tense atmosphere of the battle dissipated instantly, replaced by a relaxed atmosphere. I'm going to get this kid drunk. Ask him carefully why he is so strong. And the origin of the sword in his hand. If there is a chance, I will ask for one too. Just when Shanks was thinking about how to dig out some information from Ning Chuan. Unexpectedly, Ning Chuan seemed to have seen through what he was thinking and refused directly. Sorry, there are some things going on right now, so I can't go to your banquet for the time being. Shanks was stunned for a moment when he heard Ning Chuan's refusal. Is there anyone in this world who doesn't like to hold banquets? Just when he was in a daze, Ning Chuan suddenly stepped forward, patted his shoulder and said seriously. I don't like banquets, but if you have any new tricks, you can call me. Just like Roger's stunt back then, divine avoidance. After Ning Chuan finished speaking, he led Nami and the others towards the palace. Shanks was left alone there with his eyes wide open in shock. What's going on with this kid? In order to defeat him, I specially studied the secret technique of divine avoidance. How come he knew about it? Ning Chuan did not tell Shanks about Yuta. He is here to help Yuta and the Kingdom of Music deal with the demons. Now is not the opportunity for Shanks and others to get involved. After all, what he wanted to do was kidnap Shanks' precious daughter. If he knew his purpose in advance, it will be much more difficult to trick Yuta into boarding the ship. After leaving Shanks and his group, the four people from Ningchuan turned around and walked quickly towards the palace of the Music Kingdom. He had just predicted the future with his knowledge. I saw the scene of Gordon handing Yuta the forbidden music. Time is running out now, and Yuta must be prevented from getting the forbidden music as soon as possible. Shanks looked at the backs of Ning Chuan and the others as they hurriedly left. Although he was confused and didn't know Ning Chuan's purpose, he didn't say anything more. Before he fully grasps the power of the gods, he is no match for Ning Chuan. Boss, Ning Chuan seems to have gone to the palace. Yuta is also there, should we? Hearing this, Shanks waved his hands and said helplessly. Let him go, Ning Chuan is not a bad boy. Maybe he has some secrets that he doesn't want us to know. This is someone else's private matter, it's best that we don't get involved. At this time, if Shanks knew that Ning Chuan was plotting against Yuta, no matter what, he had to go and get involved. Soon, Ning Chuan and the four of them arrived outside the palace of the Music Kingdom. Ning Chuan and the others were stopped by the guards outside the door just as they wanted to go in. Seeing this scene, Ning Chuan didn't want to waste time. So he directly released the powerful Conqueror's Haki, stunning all the guards at the door. Ning Chuan, if we forcefully break into someone else's palace, it should be okay, right? Kuina, who was following Ning Chuan, was obviously nervous on her face. After all, this was her first time doing such an exciting thing. It's okay, trust Ning Chuan. We were with him, and we even boarded the Celestial Dragon's ship. I think this palace doesn't have the style of a Celestial Dragon ship, right? Nami and Noki ran to cheer Kuina on. Listening to their experiences, Kuina couldn't help but secretly smack her tongue. Not long after, in the spacious and gorgeous palace hall, King Gordon is holding an ancient sheet of music that he got by chance. Just as he was about to hand it over to Yuta, who has excellent musical talent, Ning Chuan appeared in front of him at this moment, shocking Gordon. Who are you? How did you get in? Ning Chuan ignored Gordon's words and spoke calmly. If you give what you are holding to little Yuta to sing, your country will perish. Ning Chuan's voice immediately stunned Gordon. His eyes were full of doubts and confusion. Who are you? What are you talking about? Why is the country of music dying? You'd better tell me clearly. Otherwise, me. Before Gordon could finish speaking, Ning Chuan interrupted him directly. What are you? All your guards have been knocked unconscious by me. If you don't believe it, just give the thing in your hand to Yuta to sing. Ning Chuan leaned against the wall with a sneer on his face and looked at Gordon calmly. At this time, Gordon was holding the ancient sheet of music in his hand and stood motionless. Although he didn't believe Ning Chuan's words at all. But under the terrifying topic of national destruction, he didn't dare to hand over the ancient music score to Yuta for a while. Just when King Gordon was in a daze, suddenly, a terrifying sound pierced into the soul. It rang directly in his ears. Bring the forbidden movement. Give her, roar. Yuta and King Gordon were standing in the center of the music hall. Ever since the devil's voice rang in his ears just now, a disturbing aura began to fill the air. Gordon and Yuta were both frightened by the sound just now. I didn't feel any difference in the atmosphere around me. As a bystander, Ning Chuan always feels it clearly. Suddenly, another low and evil voice came from deep underground. That's the devil's voice sealed at the bottom of the land of music. This is the most beautiful score in the world. Give it to the person with the most outstanding musical talent. A voice began to ring in Gordon's ears, hitting his soul. The moment the voice sounded, Gordon seemed to have lost himself. He began to hand the forbidden music in his hand to Yuta. Sing it, you will receive unparalleled power and glory. Sing it and you will become the best singer in the world. The devil's voice rang in Yuta's ears at the same time. Under the spell of the devil's voice, there was confusion and struggle in Gordon's eyes. But he finally followed the voice in his mind and handed over the forbidden music in his hand. Little Yuta could not resist the devil's temptation at this time. He began to walk slowly towards Gordon, preparing to sing the sheet of music. The moment Gordon handed the forbidden music to Yuta, Ning Chuan's figure flashed past. With lightning speed, he snatched the forbidden music from Gordon's hands. Roar! The moment Ning Chuan got the forbidden movement, the demon sealed beneath the kingdom of music let out an angry roar. Let the whole island tremble. I have been waiting for so many years, and finally I have found someone who can help me lift the seal. How dare you stop me? I remember your appearance, I will definitely kill you. Waves of demonic voices came from the ground, spread throughout the island. However, only Ning Chuan can understand the content. Everyone else only heard terrifying roars. Little Yuta and Gordon were both awakened by the sudden change at this moment. What was that sound just now? It was so scary. Little Yuta was so frightened that he squatted on the ground holding his head. His body couldn't help but tremble. Gordon was also scared though. But after all, as the leader of a country, he still forced himself to stay calm. He didn't fall to the ground and let outsiders laugh. Is it really a devil? After Gordon woke up, his eyes were filled with fear. I was almost bewitched by the devil's voice just now. Gordon felt scared for a while. At this time, he finally believed what Ning Chuan said before, that the country of music was about to perish. Just when Gordon finally woke up and realized that he had almost destroyed the entire country. The angry voice of the demon below the palace is getting stronger and stronger. It was struggling crazily, trying to break through the seal. The angry demon made a huge noise, causing the entire island to tremble again. This moment, in the country of music that had just calmed down, terrifying roars resounded again. This sound is like a roar coming from the deepest part of the abyss of hell, it's terrifying. On the street, the violinist who was playing suddenly shook his hand and his bow made a harsh noise. He looked around in horror, his voice trembling. What is this sound? How terrible! The vendors in the market also stopped what they were doing and looked at each other with the customers, their eyes full of unspeakable fear. In the tavern, the drunken drinkers suddenly woke up after hearing the roar of the devil. They looked around in horror, their faces turned pale. But, among them, a group of people suddenly stood up at this moment, looking solemnly in the direction of the king's palace of music. Beckman, the sound just now came from the direction of the palace, right? Shanks put his hand on his waist with a serious look on his face. Beckman nodded, took a deep puff of cigarette, looked in the direction of the palace and said worriedly. Yuta should still be in the palace. If what we have seen and heard is correct, the dangerous aura is coming from the direction of the palace. After listening to Beckman's analysis, Rakiru suddenly stood up and shouted loudly to Shanks and Beckman. Captain, Beckman, what are we waiting for? Yuta needs our help now. At the same time, in the palace, Gordon heard the devil's roar again, and his expression suddenly changed. Suddenly, as if he remembered something, he looked at Ning Chuan and said seriously. I remembered an ancient legend. There is a terrible demon sealed at the bottom of our country of music. It's just that everyone regards this as a legend and does not think it is true. And now, this legend has come true. After realizing that he had just almost caused the danger of destroying the country, Gordon was filled with fear, and cold sweat dripped from his forehead. Thank you so much, little guy. If you hadn't stopped me just in time, the country of music would have been over. Gordon's voice trembled, and his eyes looked at Ning Chuan with gratitude. Performing the forbidden movement is the key to unlocking the devil's seal. As long as a talented singer can sing this forbidden movement, the devil will be freed from the seal. That's why I came to stop you. But don't be too sentimental. I'm not here for you or your kingdom. I'm doing it for Yuta. I don't want her to bear the sin of ruining the music kingdom. Gordon was a little embarrassed by Ning Chuan's words. But he wasn't angry. After all, Ning Chuan was the benefactor who saved his country. Even if he pulled him and beat him up, he would just smile and bandage his injuries. After a period of silence, Gordon looked at Ning Chuan and said seriously. If this is really the case, then this forbidden movement must be destroyed. Don't let the devil have any chance of escaping the seal. Ning Chuan shook his head. Destroying it is useless. Since the devil can create a forbidden movement, it can also create a second forbidden movement. It's just a matter of time. The method you mentioned treats the symptoms but not the root cause. Actually, the safest way is to eradicate the root cause and completely kill this devil. Gordon was startled by Ning Chuan's words, and he said with a pale face. Kill the devil. Legend has it that the devil is so powerful that humans simply cannot defeat it. According to legend, many people died in order to seal it. Can we alone defeat it? If we can't win, won't the country of music have to? Ning Chuan naturally understands Gordon's worries. After all, he is the king of a country and a good king. He doesn't want to see his own people in dire straits and his country being destroyed. Just a demon. As long as I'm here, it can't change the world. However, before we eliminate the demon, I think we should talk about the reward first. Remuneration. When I heard the words Ning Chuan's remuneration, King Gordon was obviously stunned. But soon, he returned to normal. As the king of a country, he naturally knows that there is no free lunch in the world. What's more, Ning Chuan helped his country get rid of a serious danger of national subjugation that had been hidden for many years. There is nothing wrong with asking for some reward. What are your conditions? You might as well tell me. If it can be completed, we, the country of music, will do our best to help you. Hear Gordon's words. A smirk appeared on Ning Chuan's face. My conditions are very simple, there are only two. The first one is that if Yuta wants to hold a concert in the future, you must try your best to help promote it. Heard Ning Chuan's first condition. Gordon nodded seriously. This condition is not difficult. What about the second one? This second condition is not difficult either. I need the country of music to help me build a big ship, at least as big as General Marine's warship. Of course, not now, but after I go to the Water City, I will send you the bill. Hearing this, Gordon frowned. Ning Chuan's condition would probably cost a huge amount of money. But for a country, it is actually not too much. What's more, this is a country of music, where a large number of singers hold concerts every year. Naturally, there will be no shortage of Bailey, a warship-level ship. After a period of silence, King Gordon nodded seriously. I can promise you, but how can I believe that you have the strength to kill the devil? If it's convenient, can you show your strength a little to make me feel at ease? Confused about Gordon, Ning Chuan had already expected it. He didn't answer, just smiled at Gordon. Come on, follow me. There are some things you can't do here. Then, Ning Chuan turned around and walked out of the palace to the center of the courtyard. Gordon and Xiao Wuda looked at Ning Chuan and followed him out. Seeing Gordon and the others walking out of the palace, Ning Chuan smiled at them, then took a deep breath, and the power in his body exploded instantly. With a low cry, Ning Chuan's body quickly grew in size. The dazzling golden light instantly covered the whole body, and in the blink of an eye, it transformed into a golden Buddha hundreds of feet tall. At this moment, the surrounding air seemed to be trembling with his changes. Golden light began to radiate from his body surface and gradually spread outside the palace. Gordon, who had never seen a giant Buddha before, was stunned. His mouth opened wide and his eyes were full of shock and awe. This is incredible. Yuda's performance was not bad. After all, he had seen the golden Buddha form of the Warring States period during the naval battle. But what she was curious about at this time was, why can this handsome guy be like a Marine Fleet Admiral? How about turning into a golden Buddha? The people of the country of music also saw the sudden appearance of the golden Buddha in the palace. He looked in the direction of the palace in great surprise. What is that? Is it the arrival of a god? What god? This should be the devil fruit user brought in by the king to help us solve the source of that terrifying scream, right? Really? That's great, it seems we are saved. Even if the rumored demon is born, it should not be a match for this giant Buddha. Just when everyone in the country was shocked by the sudden appearance of this giant Buddha, the Shanks pirates were suddenly shocked. Isn't it the Warring States period? Jesus Bu looked at the giant Buddha Ning Chuan had turned into and was slightly stunned. After all, he had just had a fight with the Marine Fleet Admiral not long ago, and he was worried that the Marine Fleet Admiral was also chasing him. Hearing this, Shanks shook his head. No, he looks like that boy from Ningchuan. Don't be stunned, hurry up and go to the palace to see what's going on. The giant Buddha has been created. At this time, the shape of Ningchuan's golden Buddha shines brightly in the sun. His voice echoed like thunder through the courtyard. King Gordon, now do you believe that I have the ability to get rid of the devil? Hear this thundering sound. Gordon finally recovered from the shock. Believe, I didn't expect you to be such a powerful ability user. The golden Buddha will definitely be able to get rid of the devil. After seeing the golden Buddha form in Ningchuan, Gordon was overjoyed. Don't be happy so early. Demonstration could wreak havoc on Music Nation's turf. Just don't cry then. Hearing Ning Chuan's words, Gordon hesitated for a while, struggling a little in his heart. But in the end, he made up his mind and spoke. If the buildings are gone, they can be rebuilt. If the people are gone, then there is nothing. We are willing to take this risk, as long as we can completely get rid of this devil. Maybe, with the merit of exterminating demons, we can become a wise king. Seeing that Gordon was still in the mood to joke, Ning Chuan smiled and nodded. Let's make an agreement first. I won't compensate for the losses caused. You are not allowed to deduct it from my shipbuilding funds. Next, Ning Chuan began to prepare a plan to eliminate the demon. During this period, Shanks and his group also came to the palace. After listening to Yuda explain in detail what just happened, Shanks and others were scared for a while. At the same time, they were all extremely angry. This hateful devil dares to take advantage of cute little Yuda. This is the baby bump of all the members of their red-haired pirate group. Gotta do it. Go to death. Just like that, Ning Chuan didn't even invite Shanks or the others. They shamelessly joined the demon-slaying plan. The condition for summoning the devil is that Yuda must use the ability of the singing fruit to sing forbidden music. In this case, will Yuda be in danger? Shanks, after hearing Ning Chuan's plan, he couldn't help but frown. Knowing the original plot of Ning Chuan, you naturally know that as long as Yuda uses the ability of the singing fruit to sing the forbidden movement, the devil will take the opportunity to possess her and seize her singing fruit ability. It is impossible without danger. However, Ningchuan has already thought of countermeasures for this. As long as he gets her singing fruit ability first, then he activates his fruit ability to unlock the devil's seal. In that case, the devil will only look for you when it appears. For Ning Chuan, as long as the devil dares to come to him, then I must give it a few million calories to see. After telling Shanks his plan, Shanks looked at Ning Chuan with a strange look on his face and couldn't help but say, Although I don't know how you mastered the power of the song fruit. But one thing you have to know is that if you want to unleash the power of singing fruits, you must be talented in singing. Singing is not a practice. Are you sure about it? Hearing this, Ning Chuan smiled disdainfully. I practice singing every day. If you don't believe me, ask Nami and the others. Shanks looked at Nami and the three of them suspiciously. As a result, the three little cuties all nodded at the same time. He looked at Shanks with a strange expression, and then said in unison. Ning Chuan does practice singing every day, and he did it when he was practicing Kunquan. It's just that, we don't understand the songs he sings. What's your name? Chicken. You're so beautiful. Chicken, are you too beautiful? What's this weird thing? When he heard this strange song title, Shanks suddenly looked confused. Looking at Shanks' confused look at this time, Ning Chuan smiled slightly and came directly to Yuta's side. He put his hands on little Yuta's shoulders and spoke to Yuta seriously. Yuta, sing a song you are familiar with. Remember to use the power of the singing fruit to sing. Yuta looked at Ning Chuan, then at Shanks standing aside and nodded seriously. She took a deep breath and sang a cheerful song directly according to Ning Chuan's request. And at the same time, he activated the ability of the song fruit. As her singing sounded, a strange power suddenly filled the air. Almost in an instant, everyone around him fell into the beautiful world sung in Yuta's song. Blue sky, warm sunshine, illusory gardens full of flowers, flocks of seagulls blowing across the sea in the sea breeze. It all looks so real. The Shanks pirates, Nami and the others, and King Gordon. At this moment, everyone was immersed in the beautiful singing world created by Yuta. However, Ning Chuan was not like others at this moment. Feel the beautiful world created by Yuta. He turned on his domineering attitude to the maximum. I have been observing all the details of Yuta's launch of the song fruit. System, start calculation. Congratulations to the host for successfully observing JGE's fruit ability for 10 seconds and activating the 10,000 times return system. Start practice settlement now. Settlement is successful. Congratulations to host for successfully obtaining the observation song fruit ability and returning the 100,000 seconds of cultivation. Host's understanding of the song fruit's abilities has improved. The first return of cultivation is over. Ning Chuan felt that his understanding of the song fruit's ability had been profoundly improved. However, he is now close to being able to use the ability of the song fruit. There is still a long way to go. But Ning Chuan, who was involved in the system, didn't care. With a deep understanding of the song fruit, Ning Chuan continued to speak in his heart. System, continue settlement. Congratulations to the host for successfully experiencing the power of Gurgur fruit for 1 minute and activating the 10,000-fold return system. Start practice settlement now. Settlement is successful. Congratulations to the host for successfully obtaining the ability to feel the song and singing the fruit, and the 10,000 minutes of cultivation will be returned. Host's understanding of song fruit's abilities has been greatly improved. It's not enough. System, continue with settlement. Ning Chuan has been feeling the power of Yuta song's fruit. Until Yuta finished singing the third song, Ning Chuan finally heard what he wanted to hear from the system. Congratulations to the host, you can now use the ability of the song fruit. After hearing these words, Ning Chuan finally showed a satisfied smile on his face. Can I finally use the power of the song fruit? Then let you feel the power of Kunkan world. Ning Chuan looked at everyone with a bad smile on his face. Then before Yuta's fourth song was about to start singing, Ning Chuan suddenly sang, "The Jinni is so cool, you are so beautiful." The moment Ning Chuan spoke, everyone around them felt that their eyes suddenly went dark. The next moment, they found themselves entering a fantastic world. A young man wearing overalls and playing basketball suddenly appeared in front of them. Just before they figured out what was going on, this boy started to change. I saw this boy suddenly turned into a golden big coon playing basketball there. Then came the second one, the third one. Until the end, so many people playing basketball that they could hardly count them all had filled the space in front of them. Ah, my eyes. My eyes are contaminated. What the hell, what is going on in this world? Why do such weird things exist? It can't go on anymore. Help, help. I want to get out of this world. Is this the singing fruit ability used by that boy from Ningchuan? Compared with Yuta, This is simply hell. Kun, everything is kun. When Ning Chuan finished singing the last line of lyrics, everyone trapped in the Kunkan world was finally freed from it. Thank God, Ning Chuan finally finished singing. It's really not easy to survive. Everyone I see now is wearing overalls and a golden big kun with a middle parting. Ningchuan, brother Ningchuan, please don't sing this song again, okay? It's finally over. The scene just now is scarier than risking your life with Marine. Looking at the scared expressions on the faces of everyone around him, the evil smile on the face of the instigator Ning Chuan never stopped. It seems that this kind of mental pollution is also a good weapon. If I transform into the form of the Great Buddha first, and use the power of the Great Buddha's voice that can confuse people's hearts to activate the singing fruit, I can sing Jinny Tame again. In this way, I'm afraid it will cause a top-level mental pollution. I'm afraid the entire country of music will go crazy. If King Gordon knew what Ning Chuan was thinking at this time, he was afraid that he was not risking his life. The citizens must quickly plug their ears to avoid seeing this horrific scene. This kind of mental pollution can be called a terrifying level, probably even scarier than seeing a ghost. System, please settle the practice just now. Congratulations to host for successfully using the song fruit ability to sing for 3 minutes and 39 seconds, activating the 10,000 times cultivation return system. Closing square bracket. Start practice settlement now. Settlement is successful. Congratulations to host for successfully obtaining the refund of 390,000 seconds of singing using the song fruit ability. Host's ability to master the song fruit has been greatly improved. Not bad, not bad. Singing is much more interesting than fighting. Find an opportunity to sing to them again. Everyone looked at the weird smile on Ning Chuan's face again. At this moment, everyone had the idea of running away from Ning Chuan. I have mastered the ability of the song fruit. The work of eliminating demons can already begin. King Gordon, you can now order the evacuation of the entire country. Ning Chuan smiled and looked at King Gordon, who was sweating profusely. At this time, King Gordon still had not recovered from the shadow just now. After Ning Chuan's reminder, he finally got rid of that nightmarish and terrifying scene. King Gordon glanced at Ning Chuan with some fear. As an old musician, his current attitude towards Ning Chuan is really difficult to evaluate. Ning Chuan's voice is very penetrating, and his talent in singing is almost the same as that of Yuta. They can all exert the terrifying power of the song fruit and easily pull people into a new world. But Ning Chuan's songs are enough to drive people crazy. It was in sharp contrast to Yutana's pure and natural voice. However, fortunately, Ning Chuan stayed in the music kingdom for a short time. Otherwise, I'm afraid the entire country of music will go crazy. Ning Chuan is simply scarier than the sealed demon. Okay, I'll give the order right away. The devil must be eliminated as soon as possible to free the country of music from danger. Although Gordon said so on the surface. But in fact, what he wanted was for Ning Chuan to quickly eliminate the demons and then send them away. After all, this Ning Chuan boy is really terrifying. Scarier than the devil. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.